Chief Vaughn, you follow lunch, the unlucky character who
Awesome.
doesn't follow lunch. So you gotta be
Sweet.
energized with some special videos.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll have to follow up on the video side of things. So good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate the time today. So my goal today is really just to give a clear snapshot of where our police department stands today and the progress we made over the last few months since I've been appointed to the role of chief, and where I believe it's important for us to invest in our people and stay ahead of the growth and the expectations as a department, and talk about planning responsibly for our future. So the agenda for my slides coming up, I'll have state of the department, some personnel and staffing updates, compensation and incentives, organizational structure, space needs, equipment, technology, and then an update about the North Meck Magistrate. So as far as the state of the department goes, so we'll start here with the UCR crime totals. So again, UCR is a uniform crime reporting. So these are the reported crimes, and it breaks it down more on the next slide, specifically about crimes. And so when you look at our data, we're always looking across a 5-year term and evaluating it over a course of the period. So we're not looking at a specific spike or a single year. So the takeaway that I see in our uniform crime reporting is that there's consistency, as you see. We're not seeing dramatic spikes in violent crime, and when we talk about the crime and workload, you can just see that there's trends there rather than us reacting to a single year's worth of data that's present in front of you. And then as you can see on this particular side, 2023 seems to be an anomaly, because if you go back 10 years, again, you can just kind of see this steady trend with the exception of 2023. I had our Kayla Duffy, our crime analyst, go through and look at the 2023 stats, and she also says, hey, nothing really sticks out from 2023 other than that this has had a spike that year. And that's why it's important that we police and staff and put people out there on the road based on trends and not just this spike of numbers from 2023. So a single year, it could be influenced by short-term things like staffing shortages could impact this, because there is some self-initiated activity that goes with this. Special enforcement that happens during the year. Maybe we have some sort of a drug specific case that we're working, and maybe we've hit things harder one particular year. Or maybe there's major construction projects. And then even having like 1 or 2 repeat offenders. Maybe we have somebody that's come to Huntersville and they hit 30 cars one night, and then we haven't seen them again for 5 years. And so that's why it's important that we don't overreact to 1 year's worth of spikes, because then we'll have to overcorrect, and some of those things pull back the reins on decisions we made can be expensive. So this is the breakdown. So part 1 crimes, again, you've heard this before, and for the 2 newcomers, these are the serious crimes that are listed there of the murder, aggravated assault, forcible rape, robbery. And again, as you look across those numbers, you'll see that the 2023 had the spike, but then you've seen a gradual downtick of the numbers. But then we look at the 5-year pattern, we're on par with what it looks like, with that exception of that 2023 stat. And so this approach of looking across the 5 years keeps us in more of a proactive stance as far as our response, instead of being reactive, and it protects us from making any crazy staffing changes. Part 2 crimes to the right, I know it's tiny, it's broken down pretty specific. If there's something there that you'd like for me to specifically cover on this sheet, any questions about any of these stats, please feel free to ask. A couple anomalies that I'll say that stick out on this. Under the Part 2 crimes, you'll see under forcible fondling, it had a significant uptick. That was from our one specific investigation with the gentleman that was at the nail salon. And so you see how one offender can affect the entire year's numbers, and why we don't target our efforts on forcible fondling, because that's not the trend of the 5 years. that was one offender that's responsible for more than half of those particular crimes. And so as you look across those crimes, you'll see where they stand. And overall, even with my staffing involved, staffing shortage that I have right now, our officers are still being proactive and still out there catching the bad guys, and we're still able to get a crime reduction in place that has happened consistently over the last couple of years. And so overall, with Part 1 crimes, you see that we're down 5%, and then it cut off the Part 2 crimes there at the bottom. It also was down 5%. I don't know if it's on your screen or if it's cut off there or not. I apologize for that. Didn't format. Is there anything on those two particular slides that anybody has any questions on?
What is a fray?
Fights.
Oh, gotcha.
I was
Yep.
Googling it right
Two
now.
kids get in a fight at school. Two people get in a fight.
With the welfare fraud, I see that's on the list. Because that is housed in Mecklenburg County, do you get that report, does that come from Mecklenburg County if someone is prosecuted for welfare fraud that lives in Huntersville?
Well, it just depends, because they have jurisdiction over that as well. And so unless it gets directly reported to us, it's not similar to the same circumstances like a child abuse,
Right.
where it might come in from the county and we get referred that. Some of those things are prosecuted at a different level, and so they aren't necessarily reported to us first. And occasionally they come as a referral, but they have the ability to charge those. So these would be specifically what was reported to us.
Where you would have to go out, like if we, sorry, let me not say we, if it was
Oh, no,
requested for.
you're right.
If it was requested, and I'm speaking in terms of the welfare fraud, that's why I said I can't say we, to ask for like a warrant, because that does happen with welfare fraud. So if we were to request a warrant, is that kind of like specifically in how, that's being reported to you all? I guess.
Yeah, so, I think that, and as you see, the welfare fraud hasn't had like a stat in.
Right,
At all. And so, what I would say to that is if we had taken the report, it would show up here. If there was a warrant, say the county or state or whoever took out a warrant on the person, and we arrested them, that's not gonna necessarily be on here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is strictly reporting that we have done.
Okay.
So I see instances of pornography. What exactly?
Yeah, so we have a undercover officer that does works with CSAM, child sexual exploitation.
Okay.
And so he gets referrals from Department of Justice or U.S. Marshal Service, and then he goes in and does those investigations. And so a lot of the pornography charges come from that,
Like predators?
where a lead has come in through some other agency, and then we actively pursue it with our undercover officers.
Got it. Okay.
Anything else? All right, so again, this is calls for service by year, and this breaks down between citizen calls and then officer calls. Again, as you go across the bottom, you can see citizen calls. I'm looking at that one and seeing that we've had a reduction in 911 calls for service. There's a couple reasons for this, I believe. One is that we've implemented online reporting in the last couple of years, where if somebody would have picked up the phone and called 911 and said, hey, I want to make a report of a fraud, a credit card fraud, maybe they've gone online and done that report online. This is not going to capture that. And so you're having to look at both of those sets of statistics to look at both the crimes that we have reported to us, and then look at the trends that are here on these slides, and try to marry the two together, because I can't make crime happen. I can't make somebody call the police and file a report. And so the red bars across the bottom are the number of times that somebody picked up the phone and called 911 requesting an officer. And then the officer-initiated calls for service, again, you've seen a decline there. You saw it, I've got 28 openings. And so we were really impacted from 24 to 25. That was our biggest drop in loss of officers. And you'll see on my recruiting slides coming up about how that is starting to stabilize and the recruiting coming back up. And so On the officer-initiated side of things, I see the decreases there, but, you know, a couple other things that go along with it. The intricacy of the cases that are coming in. Officers are having to spend longer amounts of time on some of these cases that involve artificial intelligence or frauds, and it's taking more of their time and effort to get into investigating those cases. Again, I'm looking at the 5-year trend, and overall we're down citizen contact and officer contact. This is the top 10 calls for service in Huntersville. 40% of our calls for service of officers coming in fall under one of these categories. And you see the top is check the welfare. That's, hey, I haven't heard from mom or dad in a couple days. I need you to go by the house. I don't live there. I need your help to go by and check the welfare of that person. I see someone standing on the side of the road. They look like they need help. An officer goes by and checks the welfare on the side of the road with that person. So again, that's every time somebody picked up the phone and asked for us to help them check on somebody. Any questions on this? Yes, ma'am.
What about mobile crisis unit calls? Does HPD still handle that, or?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we implemented our own victim response team or victim advocacy unit. I don't have their specific stats in this particular presentation, but what I will say is that they have been worth every penny. They have done a great job of coming in and identifying underlying factors in domestic abuse cases. We saw an uptick about a year ago. We started seeing an uptick in domestic violence calls or uptick in the actual charges, and a lot of that was because of people feeling empowered by our advocates, you know, helping them come forward and file those reports. I feel for certain, I have 4 right now. I feel for certain in the next 24 months I'll need to make that 5. I don't need to do it this year, but they're working their tails off as far as that goes. We will call mobile crisis after hours out of Charlotte. We'll have them come up and help us with calls for service. But anytime we can get our advocates involved here in-house, they are more intimate with the specifics of the crime and the Huntersville way of doing things. And so it's helpful with that. I can get you those stats of how often they were used this last year, but I don't have it in this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next one is on traffic crashes. Again, we're trending down on traffic crashes with a peak in 2024. Again, I think some of this is attributed to the fact that we do very proactive traffic enforcement, a lot of education. You know, I have somebody on my end of things now doing full-time social media that's been absolutely killing it and getting the education piece out of it. And so Trot and his folks, there's engineering, there's education, there's enforcement that all go into traffic safety. And I think all of that has really stepped up over the last year, not to mention that there is a lot of traffic, and so even the severity of crashes is probably lower than it's been in the past. Again, I'm looking at the 5-year trend, and for 2025, we're a little lower than overall. Last year, we had 8 traffic fatalities, and the reason that this is, again, and this is an anomaly, we're probably a 2 to 3 a year average of fatalities. In fact, 2024, we didn't have any. And so you can just see that there's no rhyme or reason to these things. I included a little snippet summary of what happened where on your slide that you can see. A lot of crossing over the center line, a lot of inattention. And when you look at our stats, it's said 1 homicide it's actually as a result of the investigation from one of these traffic fatalities, and that we were able to charge the person in that case with the second-degree murder charge. So when you see that on our UCR reporting, it says 1, but it was out of this fatality. It was not an act of violence outside of that. Again, all over the place, all over town, all hours of the day. There is no predictability to this piece of our job. Any questions on the fatalities?
I saw one there was Beatty's Ford Road and Sample Road. There's 2 accidents. Is that?
I heard Beatty's Ford and what?
Sample?
Yes.
Are we seeing it as a trouble spot, or is that just,
No, it's a nice straightaway, and the two, you see two there, one's listed, one was going south and was at a high rate of speed and ran off the road. The second one that's listed in April was somebody that was fleeing a hit and run crash going north.
oh?
You know, they don't, neither one was any particular instance, and the sight distance is so nice and straight
Yeah,
at Beatty's Ford and Sample that people tend to pick up speed through that area.
Got it.
But we believe in the instance in January that it was health related on top of the fact that they were in this crash and died. We believe that there were some health issues there at the same time. So
Okay.
just a perfect storm.
alright, thanks.
Next one, 911 calls. From placing a 911 call to arrival on scene. The red is the amount of time that it takes dispatch to dispatch a 911 call to us. Somebody picks up the phone, calls 911, and based on the priority of the incident, you can see priority 1 through 9 across the bottom. 1 is obviously our most pressing case that we need to get to immediately. Your robberies, crashes with injuries, what have you. We are up like 8 seconds from last year to this year. I don't have last year's numbers on here because it would just clutter up the screen worse than it is. But for priority 1 calls for 2025, from the time to dispatch is 51 seconds from the 911 picking up the phone, taking the call and dispatching it to an officer. This is an average. And then on average, it's taking the officers about 5.5 minutes to get to the scene. And so you're looking at a total of about 6.5 minutes response time. Priority 2 calls are, you're eating lunch, you need to put your food down and you need to go, and go answer this call now, but it's non-emergent. And then as you go down the line, you can see based on our response times, how it's prioritized. And our dispatchers do this for us. Most of you have heard this before, but the dispatchers prioritize the calls for us. And the supervisor, based on the facts that they give out on the call, they can decide if they want to escalate the response for the officer in order to speed that time up. Any questions on 911 dispatch?
So dispatch delay on priority 7 to 9, does that mean it took them 20 minutes to get answered? or on-
That took them 20 minutes to dispatch the call.
Got it.
Yep,
Okay.
this is, I don't like the wording, I put dispatch delay on that. I was trying to account for, that's the time it took from the dispatcher to answer the call and the first call to go out on the radio to an officer.
Okay, so they're not on the phone for 20 minutes, they're,
No. They have taken that call and it's now sitting in a queue,
Got
waiting for somebody to answer. These are gonna be like our animal control calls.
okay.
Chief, do you recall how much longer, what is our contract with CMPD about dispatch? How frequently do we update that?
Yeah, this last one, I believe we did 3 years. No, I think we did 5 years. I'm having trouble recalling that piece. We're in year 2 of whatever our most recent renewal was, and so we either have a year left or another 2 years left.
So there have been times before when boards have said, why don't we do our own dispatch? And so there's a cost and a PSAP, primary public response.
Public safety access point.
There are reasons why we don't just snap our fingers and get into that. Records management, and it's very involved.
Yeah, a couple of things that I could get on my soapbox with this is back in the early 2000s, an NC 911 government organization was established, and they decided then every time somebody picks up a phone and calls 911, that particular jurisdiction is going to get so much money every time they get this call. And those primary public safety access points were established in the early 2000s. And so when you look on your phone bill and it says 911 fee, that is going to a bank of money that was predetermined to go to specific locations across the state. We can't go back and ask for that now. And so any opportunity for us to do this, we would always be a secondary public safety access point, which means somebody's going to call 911. 911 is going to pick up the call, and they're going to have to transfer it to one of our dispatchers if we had one, and then they are going to have to put the call in and they're gonna have to dispatch the call, and so you can see the delays across that and the dilemma with it. Are there times that people are on hold with 911 at Charlotte? Absolutely. Would there be times if we had our own people in our office answering these calls also? Absolutely. And so when you look at the greater picture of the record system that we're using, we have access to their helicopter, which probably would come anyhow, but we have immediate access to these things because of being on the same radio channel and having access to those resources. But the short answer is we can't have the dispatch center primarily be us because that was established nearly 20 years ago, and there's no going back now. I think they were going more for a regional type thing back then, and
They want to consolidate.
Consolidate, yep.
And you're not uncomfortable with being dispatched by Charlotte?
Not in the least.
And occasionally you're able to recruit an officer and there's less training time because they're already familiar with the dispatch system?
Done it.
And Cornelius has their own dispatch, but they
They're
had
the-
it a long time ago and they were able to keep it. And we used to be, Huntersville, a part of that many years ago, but it made sense due to location and all the other things that Chief talked about for Huntersville to break apart from Cornelius and actually go with CMPD.
Yeah, if it was ever entertained up front, it would be millions for us to move back to have Cornelius helping us, but you're gonna run into the same thing that if the concern is, I'm on hold with 911, that concern doesn't change. And the fact that we've already been with Charlotte and have this relationship with them, I don't think there's any reason to break that at this point. Very happy with the service that we get from them. Lastly, before I get into the fun stuff, so this is just, I put this up about on an average day what's happening in Huntersville, just some kind of quick facts about what's happening on each day. You know, again, I'll go back to, I hear people say, hey, you know, the numbers aren't what actually are happening in Huntersville. Well, I can't, you know, we can't report stuff that's not happening, and we can't do reports for things when people don't call the police. And so I guess my caveat to this slide is that, you know, if somebody needs the police, calling 911 is more advantageous than taking to a platform somewhere and saying, hey, I saw this illegal thing happen, because we don't police from that. We don't police from any of the social media platforms. It's important for people to call 911 and get an officer out there or whatever is the case there. Any questions before I move on from our stats?
We see a lot of screenshots that come from that Citizen app. They get emailed to us a lot. What's the accuracy on that app?
Yeah, Commissioner Quarles and I actually talked about that briefly on his top 20 radio show that he has. So the thing with Citizen, any of those apps, they're all driven by some other source. You know, they're not getting their information straight from Charlotte Dispatch. Some of them are sourcing their information from radio traffic that it might be picking up from a police scanner. And AI is involved with that somehow. Don't know. That's a Larry thing. I don't understand how that piece works.
I can tell
The
you.
problem is that we don't supply any information to that platform. If you're specifically referring, I'll use Citizen as the example since you're referring to that. So say somebody on New Year's Eve calls in and says, hey, someone's shooting handguns down the street. And you're like, well, it's New Year's Eve. No, 4th of July. How about 4th of July? Hey, you know, someone's shooting a gun down the street. And you're like, okay, it's 4th of July. You know, fireworks more than likely. That Citizen app does not correct itself. And so what happens is a call comes out for an officer to respond. They respond to a shots fired call. They get to that call and it's somebody shooting off fireworks. It is not a shots fired call. The officer corrects that mistake in the system and then clears it and moves on. Somebody opens Citizen app the next day. Oh my gosh, there are shots fired at, you know, on Gilead Road by the post office or whatever it is. There's no opportunity there for us to engage with that. And so what I always tell people is, like, for the most accurate information about specific crimes, please come to our social media so you can get those things. And those apps, they are what they are. You know, they're worth it, you know, if they're letting people know about crashes and maybe a road's closed. But actually looking at that and thinking the world is on fire and we've got all these people shooting guns everywhere every day during 4th of July. You know, the accurate information is coming from this and coming from these slides and things that we'll be posting. Like all these slides will go up tomorrow with our crime stats.
AI goes out to the internet and aggregates things and pulls them, so it could be the call is a shots fired thing, and then someone also has posted on Facebook and
Or
said
next door,
there's
or
shots,
any of
or
those
next door, and
things.
then it pulls it together
Yeah.
and makes that thing. But it says right across the top, this posting is
And
generated
sometimes it
by
has
by
radio
AI.
traffic tied to it also, where something has captured the police talking on the radio. But again, I'll go back to say, like, HPD has always kicked butt on communication with, hey, we need people to lock down. We need this to happen. You experience it with your school. Like, we respond quick and we alert the people that need to be alerted. And then when we need to alert everybody else, then we get to that point. But the people that are immediately impacted by whatever's happening, we're on that fairly quickly.
So when we get these kind of emails, we should, say the best way to verify this is to go to the HPD social media.
Come to our social media,
website.
they can call in and ask to speak to a watch commander if they saw something that concerning. They can call into our non-emergency number and ask to speak to somebody, or we have a police services at huntersville.org if somebody had a question. That goes out to all of our supervisors. And so, yeah, the opportunity is certainly there for follow-up to be done if somebody wanted to do that.
Do we have shot detector?
No,
We don't, okay.
no.
Because we get a lot of car backfires, fireworks, and then some places in the town of Huntersville, you are allowed to legally shoot a gun
Correct.
where they live, so,
Correct.
by the farm.
Lots of construction, lots of equipment, boring, lots of things
Yeah,
that make noise that sound like firearms.
yep.
So,
Chief, you mentioned Kickbutt. I want to compliment you guys. One, your social media, the fun posts that you guys do. And you mentioned the crimes and things of that nature, but that right there, I give kudos to whoever doing that. It brings a lot of fun and humor and makes you guys seem like you really are human. But another thing I want to do is your community outreach department.
Yeah.
Phenomenal job. And they do things such as active shooter training. That makes our community safe, and we don't look at those types of things, we don't give compliments for that, but they're doing a phenomenal job. And also, we like to travel, and when you travel, you can contact the police department and say, hey, I want someone to patrol my community or my home. I salute you guys for a job well done.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, anybody can go on and do those things. Vacation requests, all that stuff is readily available on our website that they can get to it. You let me keep going because I don't want to. I can eat into Tolly's time next. Michael Barrett is the gentleman that I hired a little over a year ago. No, not even quite a year ago. Summer of last year, he's doing our social media stuff. He came to us from newsprint media and did some TV work. And the social media world is completely new to him, and I just let go of the reins, said have at it, and he's been
He's killing it.
doing an
Yeah.
amazing job with that. So engagement is important to us. Good, bad, indifferent. As long as somebody's looking. One, they're making fun of us, and then they're not making fun of somebody else, and then two, it gets our message out there. So when we sandwich those stalking posts, we were talking earlier about when you sandwich some of these serious posts between the funny ones, it helps getting the engagement and getting the word out there. When we're looking for somebody, there's more eyes on it to get that information to us.
Chief Vaughn, I don't know, you may bring this up, you may not, but we've gotten some concerns about Burkdale. Do you have any updates
Yeah.
about anything that?
Yeah, I don't have any slides about Burkdale, but we certainly have had some calls up there. So this past week, myself and Commissioner Quarles and Commissioner Walsh went and met. I took my patrol captain, Ryan Smith, and Deputy Chief Sean Freeston. We all went up to Burkdale this week to just kind of sit down and say, let's figure out a game plan. There's positives and negatives to what's happening up there. What we're not seeing is an influx of crime. Clearly, people still feel safe being in that area. Do we have a large number of kids and teenagers hanging out? Absolutely. It is a multi-use facility that has some expectation that some of that is going to happen. The important piece of this is looking at the crimes that are actually being reported to us and not seeing any. Are we getting calls about people pushing and shoving and being teenagers? Yes, we absolutely are. We also are trying to work with the people, the teenagers that are hanging out there, trying to figure out like what's an alternative. You know, where they feel safe coming to Burkdale. I mean, that's not a bad problem to have. And so I think over the coming weeks, we're going to continue to work on this partnership with Burkdale and kind of delineate some of the expectations of private property versus public property, where the police have the ability to do stuff and where we don't, where they have ability to do things and where they don't, and kind of come as a unified front at this, especially like leading up to spring break, and try to address some of these things. But disturbance calls, yes, we have had them up there. We have had no crimes actually reported. You know, the police go up there and either the kids all scatter and run and leave or whatever. But you know, actual assaults, I think we've had one in the last couple of months that's been reported to us. Another piece that's troubling to this that I think in a couple of weeks I'll get out in front of a bunch of cameras is the fact that people are sticking their kids in Ubers and sending Ubers up there and just dropping them off. And so just kind of working through this education piece of you can, all the way down to a 13-year-old can get in an Uber. I didn't know this until a week ago myself.
Yeah, they have
And
Uber
so
Teen or something.
13 and you can request an Uber to come get you and take you wherever you want. And so as long as a parent has approved it in the app or something. And so I think the education piece is important, that as long as we continue to be proactive with it and don't just let this broken window fester, I think we will be fine. And it's at the forefront right now, and we'll get a handle of it and work with Burkdale to make sure that it continues to be the safe place that it is already.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. The meat and potatoes, personnel and staffing. So this is really the most important part of my presentation, and I'm making no qualms about it. Like, we have openings, 28. And I made sure I got with Laura beforehand to make sure our numbers were the same, and they are. We do have 28 openings right now. 13 of these positions were approved within the last couple of years by previous boards. So we're talking that we added 10 bodies a couple of years ago. We did last July 1, we added 3 more bodies in anticipation of trying to staff elementary school resource officers. I have some update about that coming up as well. And so we're just trying to adopt the staff that we already, trying to get staff in the building that we've already adopted. So this particular piece, you saw, I will be asking for a couple more positions. Doesn't sound great with 28 openings, but you'll understand my reasoning shortly. The good news is that I believe that recruiting is stabilizing. We have, as you can see here, we got 7 cadets starting rookie school February the 16th. That is not part of that 28 that is open up there, so that will come off of that 28 number. I've got 2 lateral officers that will be starting by February 16th, and so again, those 2 will come off of that number. I also am not accounting for any of my non-sworn, or what I refer to as my professional staff, in these openings. On Ms. Cagle's presentation, she has that we have 7 civilian openings or professional openings right now. 4 of those are non-sworn civilian crash investigators. All 4 of those have conditional offers of employment out right now, and I hope to start them by the end of February to where they can start their training. And so these numbers don't count that. I have a couple of records tech positions from promotions and 1 resignation, and so none of that is listed here. A couple of the things that I really want to point out here, though, is in 2024, we had a total of 262 applications for the entire year, and with a success rate of under 5% of people making it through our process, you can see that the laws of averages don't line up. Like, we just are not going to be able to fill our coffers with 262 applications.
Hey, Chief, just quick clarity. On the 7 BLET cadets, are they starting school in February or they're coming here in February?
They're starting school in
School,
February.
okay, thank you.
Yes. BLET is basic law enforcement training, and that's the rookie school for new police officers. So in 2025, from January till the end of August, we had received 248 applications. So they were slightly trending up. And then you see from September to December, we received 256 applications during that last quarter. What happened that last quarter? Oh, that's right. My last board really took care of supporting our police and helped me get my salary up where I could be more competitive in our market. And so what you saw is a drastic uptick in applications. And specifically from, what's not on this slide is from January to September, we had only received 5 applications out of that total of lateral interest. And from September to the end of the year, we had another 18 lateral potentials apply with us during that last quarter of the year, which is huge. Because the more laterals that we can get, the better. Just breaks down again some of the other, I'm sorry, I just messed up on that number. So we had 18 total through September, and then we had 32 lateral applications between September and December. And that's a part of these numbers that you see listed here. So I also showed a breakdown of the resignations. Again, this is just the sworn positions. So, but we did have a retirement. We had the unfortunate deaths of Officer Broadway and Officer Harvey. And then we had 7 resign, and then you can see the breakdown of that of 2 went to private sector jobs for more money. 4 went to other local law enforcement agencies where they were offered specialized positions that either we either don't have or I just don't have the ability to fill because of the staffing on patrol. And then 1 went to a federal law enforcement job. I have no idea where, who, what. He just came in one day and said, I'm going to work for the feds. Okay, have a good day. So I have no idea where that person ended up. For FY25 so far though, this is the first net positive that we've had in a couple years of employees coming in versus employees going out. So when I look at the resignation, the resignations and really looking at the resignations over time, it tells me a couple of things. Is that our people are marketable. So I really want to keep them here. I don't want them going to another department. That means that we are training them up and we're giving them the tools to be a successful officer. And so we need to continue to be competitive on the pay side. When I came up here in early September, end of August, it was important to me. And I said, this is the first step of looking at our entire compensation. And that indeed is just the first step of that. And so we need to continue to work aggressively and be competitive with that and continue to recruit aggressively. So I wanted to tell you a couple things that I've done that you just would not see on the forward-facing side of things. So when I talk about internal personnel restructuring, so Sergeant Jason Cowser is our recruiter. He absolutely does an amazing job, but you can't get blood from a turnip. And so he had like 3 or 4 extra jobs that he was doing. So about a month ago, I restructured some of the things that he was responsible for, and now he solely focuses on recruiting. He has no other responsibilities. And so he, at one point, was supervising our property control. That was taking up 8 to 10 hours a week of his time supervising property control. And so taking some of those other responsibilities off of him and letting him focus completely on recruiting has made the difference in the world. The second thing I've done is I've temporarily moved a patrol officer. I didn't want to do this because my patrol is my backbone of my agency, but I need to get staff in the building. And so I've temporarily reassigned a police officer to work with Sergeant Cowser to go out and do the recruiting fairs because, again, if he has to stop and drive to a college and go drive to recruit and come back, you're interrupting a day of time that he can be working on these events. And so this new officer has come up. He was in there for a week. And by the end of that first week, the officer that's assisting, Brad Prendergast, he had 19 college visits scheduled within the first week of him being in that job, helping Jason with this recruiting. And so that leads to, we're drumming up applications, getting our name out there where Jason could only go to 4 or 5 recruiting events. We're all in on this, of going to these recruiting events. So we have, currently, it was supposed to be Saturday, we have an open house hiring event. We have 26 people signed up for this today, that are outside of the applicants that already have in the pipeline. We've put this off until February 7th, and then also, because of the weather, and then we've also opened up 10 additional slots in that. And so that way, in hopes of getting that to 35 people that are going to attend that. And so, what we hope is we're getting people in the door and streamlining the first 2 or 3 steps of the process to get them further along so we can get them in the door. Half of those openings are in my specialized units. So when I get to the slide here shortly about SROs, my openings are there, but half of my openings are on patrol, and the other half are in. I'm short investigators. I'm short traffic unit, and we're doing more with less right now. And you can still see we're positively impacting crime rates and traffic crashes and such. Something that I spoke briefly with Ms. Huffman yesterday, and I don't know if she shared it with Anthony or not, but had some very exciting news yesterday. Both Anthony and Jackie both have really been pushing me to think outside the box. What can we do to get people in here? What can we do to get people in the door? And so yesterday I went with the recruiting sergeant to CPCC, and they are going to be able to host a BLET or rookie school specific for Huntersville Police. Wow. And so we can, we're going to get this place full, damn. I told Jackie I hope by the end of the year, but so where we're at now with rookie schools across the state is we're confined to their schedule. Somebody has to go to their school on their schedule to get certified to be a police officer, and now to be a police officer is now 6 months. From the day they come in the door to rookie school to the time they graduate, it's 6 months, and then they come to us for field training. And so now you're looking at that CPCC is only having a class in April and October or November or December or whatever it is. And so we're sitting there with sitting on our hands going, okay, what can we do with these folks? And so I went over there yesterday. We actually went to go check on we have 6 cadets in CPCC right now. And I said to the director, I said, look, what are the chances that you guys host a rookie school just for us? We don't have the ability to do this. We don't have the funding. We don't have the equipment. We don't have the instructors. It is a whole bunch of hoops to get through. And she said, absolutely. And so as soon as we get 10 people committed to go to rookie school, Jason already has 2 on his list now. As soon as we get a minimum of 10, they're willing to push forward. And so what I'm expecting is sometime May-ish that you'll start to see some pushing and some public-facing things of, hey, we're going to do an HPD Police Academy. It'll be marketed as just Huntersville police officers that'll be in there. When they come out of training, they will be with their people that they've been in training with for those 6 months. We can also insert some of our field training into this rookie school and try to streamline some of their field training. So when they get back to the police department and go into a car, that officer's not having to teach them how to use a computer. We can do that while they're sitting in a classroom and get that stuff knocked out. So knock on wood, this works out. I was very excited leaving there, and I think that this will be very important to us, and I think this really will help us get to that point of getting our staffing up, where people want to be detectives, and they want to be traffic officers, and they want to be SROs, but patrol is the backbone of our agency, and those are the people that are on the front lines responding to things.
Thank you. I'm sweating bullets trying to figure out which slide you were adding that to.
It seemed logical enough, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Secondly, again, this will come up, as budget comes around. And this is the piece where I said, hey, that was just step 1 in what we're doing, and trying to get in alignment with my competition. And so one of the things that happens right now is right now we do 2.5% raise for people with an associate's degree, and we currently do a 5% raise for people that come in to get their bachelor's that have their bachelor's degree. And so making this change is important, not just for recruiting, but internally, because these are folks that we want to invest in that are going to be the next generation supervisors, because we require some of this education in order to be supervisors in the department. And so it's important for them to do that. And it also gives me the ability to really push from our side the tuition reimbursement that the town offers, and trying to help people along that maybe they're just right there at the cusp of saying, hey, go and do this and take care of yourself. And when we take care of them, they're gonna also take care of us. And so what I'm talking about is not trying to I'm not trying to be number one in the county. Yes, we're in the number one in the county with pay, but Pineville PD's on my toes right now. Pineville PD's at like 60,500 now. Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, 5% for associates, 10% for bachelors. A handful of agencies are doing this already. And so I'm not talking about trying to be number one when it comes to pay, but I want to be at the top of at least the middle ground. Give me something that, I can fight for people to come here, but also that our people know that we value and that we're going to pay them and stay here, helping with the retention piece of this. I feel for certain as this goes along, there are numbers associated with this that we can talk about what this costs, and I don't have that stuff in front of me, but I think, just again, putting this on your plate to marinate on as we move forward. And I hope by the time the budget is adopted that we'll also see a significant difference in our staffing as this advances. I'll tell you the one example. We had a Charlotte officer that was pretty far along in our process. She was in the final steps and at the last minute pulled out, and we were off by, I don't know, under 10%. And this may not have made a difference in that person coming to us from Charlotte. And so again, these are my direct competition when it comes to employment. Are there any questions about recruiting or retention? I've got school resource coming up, I promise. So my two asks for this coming year are about accountability, responsibilities, and then also liability reduction. The slides coming up, I'm asking for 2 additional supervisory roles. One is part of my command staff. It's a captain level. I currently have 3 captains in the police department with a variety of responsibilities. The second ask is an additional lieutenant in my investigations department. Again, both of these divisions have grown, and while they don't have people in place, they will have people in place. And so it's important to get some of these responsibilities, because you'll see on my first slide, yes, it is super busy. I know it. I had 27 colors a week ago. I had individual names listed on this thing a week ago, and just trying to streamline this as easily as you can do it with the organizational chart. So this is just a representation of 1/3 of my staff. I have 3 captains, and this is just one of my 3 captains. And so you see at the top, this is currently, as of today, this one captain is responsible for 46 employees. And it's a variety of things. And you can look down through there, and what I ended up doing is taking off the names. And when you look down through there, I will step out from behind this. Sorry, Larry, about the sound. I'd much rather be out here anyhow.
No one can hear you.
Sweet. So, thanks, Larry.
Anthony can point for you.
Oh, you're good. I'll give you an example here. So on this column here where it says community services. So you see that there's a community services lieutenant. There's 1 person. There's a community services sergeant. There's 2. And then there's 12 SROs and 2 community officers. And even if we talk about expanding elementary SROs at some point in coming years, again, you're going to start adding more people to this. And you see 46 people under 1 command officer. It's too much for that officer, for that command person to keep a grasp of and stay on top of maybe the things that are coming in, the project they're working on. The second piece of this is we have added many civilian or non-sworn professional staff over the last couple of years that are falling under this captain's responsibility that weren't there 2 years ago. And so this leads into, is there any question before I move to the next slide about the proposal? Okay, so the next slide is I've actually split this captain role into 2 captains, and I've put proposed here, so there's going to be a second slide. What I'm going to do is, with this 4th captain, I will split that captain's role apart. The captain that you're seeing now would then have 32 people underneath his responsibility, or her responsibility, and you see everything that's listed under that person is all somebody that's going to be in a uniform. Those are your school resource officers, your traffic officers, the community officers, animal services. These are frontline uniform folks that are going out and interacting with the public, and then that's what this captain would be responsible for. The other captain would continue to serve in this professional role. Again, one captain is this responsibility, one captain is this responsibility. And so this professional services bureau is responsible for like making sure all of our officer certifications are up to date, making sure all the in-service training is done, and supervising this. So again, you see 36 and 12, this is more high liability stuff that needs that specific provision. And so this breaks those pieces down. And as we continue to add, as we add another, maybe another training person in the coming years, as we continue to grow our staff, it's important to make sure we plan ahead for these command positions to be able to have the right responsibilities and us not have to figure it out a couple of years from now. Are there any questions about what I view as the 2 responsibilities? So right now, everything I just said falls under one guy, a bunch of uniforms and a bunch of support service. All right, and then the 2nd lieutenant position, again, this is another captain showing their responsibilities. This is 2 out of 3 captains. I do not have a patrol captain slide. I'm not asking for anything in that division. The Investigations Bureau captain has 28 people under them. Now, if you look currently, I have 1 lieutenant that is responsible for 21 people that report to that 1 lieutenant. And there's a sergeant in between there that helps with supervision. But again, it's about that sphere of influence and spreading that responsibility and that supervisor responsibilities out. So this is where that 2nd lieutenant would come into play. Again, this would be the proposal, and you see I've marked it there in the middle. And so what I would basically do is have a special investigations lieutenant that would have a sergeant, and those are all of our undercover officers and people that serve on federal government task forces. That would be under special investigations. And you see the kind of anomaly sticking out over here that says property technician. That's a responsibility that I'm going to move where it is now. It doesn't matter where it is now, but this is where it's going to land. And then you see I then have a general lieutenant, a general investigations lieutenant that would have the advocates that are front-facing, that are on the front lines, continue to report to that investigations lieutenant and the detectives under that space. So that would be the proposal for the 2 supervisory positions. I want to reiterate, as we move into school resource, patrol is my backbone. I'm filling patrol first. I know I have retirements coming this year. I know I've got people that I need to plan for. I have retirements coming that are in rank positions. And so I need these, and I need them to continue to fill out our org chart and make everything even, but these are also going to fall in priority based on how much staffing we get in our patrol functions. I just want to reiterate again, I got people that want to be detectives that I can't put over there right now, and I've got people that want to be traffic officers that can't go over there right now. And patrol is the backbone of what we're doing. Are there any questions about those 2 spots? I know I wanted to lob a grenade because I know I've got 28 openings, and it's crazy to do this, but this is about planning for the future and not reacting 3 years from now and saying, oh crap, we need to do this, because I'm planning to be full mid-budget year, and I don't want to have to ask for this in the middle of the year next year.
Make sure you record that.
My name is Barry Graham. All right, school resource officer update. Yes, that's the update is Until I get a little more staffing on hand on patrol, I have got to continue staffing the patrol. I want to be clear, the safety at the schools is very important to me, but if I don't have officers on the street that can even respond to the schools, should there be an emergency, we're delaying response. And so, yes, they are currently unfilled, but I've got 6 people graduating BLET in 3 weeks. And so that will add to this staffing. And I've got these other folks starting in February. I doubt I'll have somebody in any of the elementary schools by the end of this school year, but based on this timeline, I certainly can have at least one of them in this position, because retention also comes from, do I see opportunity? And so I have to move somebody in there, because the officers also need to see that they have the opportunity to do this job that I know people want to do. And so it continues to be a priority to fill, and I think that, you know, impacting response times and emergency response time in other parts of town will hurt us if we try to rush into this and put officers into these positions. Y'all can see I have the 3 would share schools. We talked about this briefly last year, and for Heather and Scott, like, what my plan is that each SRO, the 3 SROs, each would be geographically be responsible for 2 elementary schools and share their time between the 2. And then as we work through this, we would work into the school's curriculum and get into some of the, you know, anti-gang, anti-drug, some of that education piece of this. But I need to get the coffers filled. Any questions at all? All right, this is the cheapest part of my presentation, is space needs. I'm here to, I had a couple slides, and I don't need to didn't need to just continue beating a dead horse, but the police department needs a new police department. And there's just no easy way to say it. We've been in our current building for 14 years. And so best case scenario, even if we started building today, the building will then be 17 or 18 years old at that point. And so we are where we are. So currently our building is about 26,000 square feet. And what you can see, what I've included there are pictures of spaces where I have 4, 6, 8, 9 people sharing one office. And so that is working today, but in a couple years that is not going to continue to work for us. In June or July of last year, we completed a space needs study. And so what that came back with is recommending a building about 55,000 square feet, so about double what our police department is now. And if you remember our recent opening of Town Hall, it is also bigger than that. And so what the anticipation is for that is that's long term. That is like, this is our end game, this is what we need to be in, and this will suffice for us until none of us in this room are in existence anymore. And so it's not about like the comfort, it's not about me trying to get people cushy offices and trying to have empty space that I don't need. It's about, y'all have been seeing all these plans and building and apartments, and we are not going to stay at 120 officers. We're going to be at 130, 140, 150 officers in the coming 5 or 6 years. And so it's planning for that space. Where it goes, that'll still be up in the air. That's for us to discuss at these meetings and talk through some of the positives and negatives about where we are now, where we could be. This is really just getting this out into the universe and saying, hey, this is where we are. The examples I have given there, like I have 6 detectives are working in, it's like a 20 by 20 room. I've got 6 detectives in cubicles in a 20 by 20 room. And then this, one person was in this office. It was where we were going to put a magistrate, but I've run out of space, so I've got 4 people. Our 4 victims advocates are going to be sharing that office. And so they're having to call victims and talk to people and trying to do this over top of each other. It's just not conducive. And we are using, please stop by, I'll give you a tour. We're using every square inch of the building that we're in now. Anything? Any questions? Sweet. So Larry briefly talked about Flock. The only reason why I included this is our license plate readers. The only reason why I included this slide is because I'm looking to continue to build that network. We currently have 34 cameras in town. 30 of them are on roadways and different right-of-ways and different ingress and egress points, like from Burkdale Village and places like that. And we have 4 deployed at the entrances to some of our parks. And so what happens is a car drives past this license plate reader, it logs it into a system, it stays for 30 days and it goes away. If a plate is in the state system and the car's stolen, it is in this system and can alert an officer to say, hey, there's a stolen vehicle that drove past this camera. And so what this shows here is what our cameras have done in the last month of the hits. Now, what it doesn't do is take away duplicates. What it doesn't do is somebody gets their license plate read and their car's stolen, they get their car back and it's never taken out of the system. Maybe the police department's not taking the car out of the system from being stolen. And so while I don't have the specifics on what this netted as far as arrests and things like that go, because all this is a tool to give an officer a lead that they are then responsible for going and doing follow-up on. My police officers are taking no action off of this response from the Flock cameras. They have to then take this action of being alerted to do their own legwork to make sure that the car is stolen, to make sure the tag is stolen through the state systems. And so that way you're not running into police or just stopping people for the heck of it or something is not wrong. And so you can see the data that's listed there. Again, this is only 1 month worth of information. You can read across the bottom of your slide there. So I'm looking to add 10 more of these cameras to our system as we continue to grow this. We have a bunch of attachment, public-private agreements with local schools and businesses because we can't put these in the state right away. North Carolina State will not allow, DOT will not allow us to place license plate readers in the right of way. And so we have these either on our own streets that we maintain or control, or we've entered into an attachment agreement with the shopping center in order to place the cameras on their properties in order to scan the license plates. And Burkdale is an example of that. They are currently testing throughout the state in Iredell County and Wilkes County license plate readers in the state right of way. It makes no sense to me that we've got all these cars traveling up and down 77 and there's nothing out there to aid in anything. And so they're testing it in Iredell County and in Wilkes County right now to decide if the state's going to allow it statewide. It could take forever. The other piece with this technology, I am not asking for any drones this year. We have a handful of drones now that we do utilize. We use them for when suspects run from police. We have them with, lost kids. We use them now. We have them. What I wanted to include this slide for was looking into the future and using drones as a force multiplier in our technology and a first responder response. And so, for example, if I bought Flock drones, Flock makes drones. If a car drives past one of those cameras and is stolen, if we have a drone, it will self-deploy and go to where that car is to help give us reconnaissance on what's happening and can we get there and can we do whatever. And it's unmanned, it goes on its own, it's autonomous. So here's where this comes in, is why I want to slow roll this. I want to get it right. I don't want those nefarious tag reads to generate a drone taking off and going and following somebody that doesn't need to be followed. I want to make sure that technology is correct. It's very good now. It is also very expensive. And then the last key to this is I need somebody to be able to dispatch the drones. And so that is another hurdle is I make the joke, the acronym WWCMPDD. What would Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department do? And so they have drones. They've deployed some drones now, but I don't know how they're dispatching them. I don't know how that operation is working. I'm floating this out to the universe, so you know, a year from now or 2 years from now, when I'm back up here talking about drones as first responders, this is what I'm talking about. We've had some testing come out, show us, hey, this is how it works. They're telling us 3 to 4 would cover our whole town. They're probably $250,000 a piece per year. So it is costly. I also would try to look at grants and things like that to try to fund that, but they're expensive. You know, you're looking at putting one somewhere in downtown, somewhere up at Burkdale, somewhere out on the west side of town, and that could cover most of what's there.
Did you say $250,000 per year?
Per year, per unit.
Okay, just want to make sure I heard that.
So
Pick
these aren't the same ones that DoorDash are using.
Yeah, that's probably why your DoorDash is so expensive. Yeah, no, these are, you can see it there. That is actually Flock's version of it. You know, it's no bigger than your iPad. And they self-deploy, they come back to these docks and they charge themselves. But again, I would need somebody to dispatch. I would need somebody to push that button to say go if we need that. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. Lastly, the North Meck Magistrate. So for the last 6 months, myself, the mayor, the manager, we've been working with Cornelius and Davidson to try to go at the whole magistrate and staffing a magistrate thing as a unified front. Back in December, myself and the chief of Davidson, the chief Cornelius, we all three worked together on a 2-page, 3-page letter that we all the managers, all the mayors, and all the chiefs signed, and also sent along with a 12-page document about our need and why we would need a magistrate. We sent that to the chief district court judge back in December. I got nothing. No response, no like, hey, got your letter, we'll talk sometime. Go away, I don't want to talk to you, we can't do anything. We've got no response.
It's like the North Cross Drive project, 25 years in the making, but that may actually get built for a magistrate. I mean, it's very political. It's, I mean, we've even offered to fund it ourselves, you know, through, can't supposedly through, it has to go through legislature funding. I mean, it's all sorts of, what I'm gonna say, kinks. And I'm sure the mayor jumped in, but it's, you get to where you think you're making some progress with one of the chief district judges, and he or she is gone. You get another one. It is a cluster, and I won't even say the last word.
Yeah, I thought, you know, we were getting some good traction with Judge Trosh, the last chief district court judge. At least it had the perception that we were getting good traction on it. She came up and brought some of the magistrates up to our PD. We showed her the space that I now have to put 4 people in. We budgeted to try to, we said, hey, we're gonna pay to upfit this building and make it ready for you so you can go on day 1. And then it never happened. Then Judge Trosh is not the chief district court judge anymore.
Wow.
I've had the opportunity to speak twice with Representative Helfrich and put this on her radar. And I sent her the letter that we sent to District Court Judge Wiggins. And then Chief Geiger with Davidson met with the Attorney General at the Chiefs Conference last week, Jackson, to say, hey, here's our plight. You know, we gave that to him also, just to try to maybe get some pressure on Judge Wiggins to even just say, hey, I got your, we emailed it and then delivered it certified mail.
And we thought there was money put in the legislature. Intent was the last, I don't know, I can't even keep up with that, because like I said, we've been talking about this for 20-some years. Legislature set aside some funds so that Mecklenburg County could get some more magistrates. And intent, I thought, now whether it was written specifically, we have to go back and look at that, the intent behind that was for the North Meck to get magistrates. That has not happened. I don't know what else I can say. Mayor may have, obviously Mayor's been in Raleigh before, so she may have some thoughts on it, but it is a painful process that I wish I could solve.
Yeah, I mean, I had hoped to, I mean, sort of, I'm gonna use the word ambush Judge Wiggins over the holiday season when all the holiday parties were going on, because normally I would have seen him out and about, and he wasn't even in attendance at any of those for me to see him, so I didn't even get to corner him with a shrimp cocktail. So,
I mean, we space, we find a space. Like I said, North Mac was willing to pay for it. It's not even that. So there should be no excuse.
So there was no response at all?
Zero.
So would it be okay for citizens to email,
Absolutely,
kind of push that
absolutely.
along?
I think we're at the point now is, call anybody in the world that you know that can put pressure on
Yep.
Yep.
and see if we can make it happen, because I mean, we've tried nice way, laid everything on, I mean, basically saying, we'll pay for everything.
Right.
So we're at the point now you can, take the gloves off and do whatever you want to.
Would it be appropriate?
And blame it on me, I'll be good with that too.
Okay.
Do you want me to forward that letter to
Yeah,
you all
yeah,
again,
please.
what I
Yeah.
sent with the statistics and stuff?
I just
Okay.
wondered if we could create maybe a post, I don't know where it would come from, the town or with the information, like
Yeah.
what has been presented and kind of the standstill where we are right now, and here's an email if you would
Yeah.
like to send something in.
Hey, Chief, just a quick one. You may have touched on it. About a year ago, we did the crash investigators.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we at? I think you might have briefly touched on it, but where are we at with
I'll see
the,
you here in a second. We have 4 positions for that.
right,
The only reason why we didn't move faster on filling those is getting the trucks for them to drive.
yeah,
So it was pointless to hire these investigators that wouldn't have something to drive. And so we ordered them back in July. They trickled in November, I think.
Okay.
And then we moved forward with the process with that, and we have conditional offers out on all 4 of those positions. And hopefully they all start before the end of February.
okay,
There's training they're gonna have to do, field training they're gonna have to do before they can be on their own. But exactly what I told the board last year is happening, is that I either expected retired police officers or people that wanted to be police officers that we could help lead
Sure.
them to water. And 2 of mine are retired police officers, and 2 of them are people that wanna go to BLET in like a year and a half when they're old enough.
sweet.
And so it's exactly the perfect, one guy's a retired trooper, has like 26 years with the highway patrol. The other guy's from Jersey or New
So
York or
when would
something.
we expect to see them on the road?
They won't be in a car by themselves until summer.
Summer?
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're gonna have to do a couple weeks in-house training, then had to do like 6 weeks with an officer. So 8
Yeah.
weeks from the end of February,
I gotcha.
March, April,
And I'm
so.
gonna put you on the spot, just one other, if you wanna punt. We'd had a couple conversations around, cameras in school zones.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so, I finished reading that article I sent you.
Yeah.
You know, so what Commissioner Wallace is talking about is October of last year, the state brought back where you could do speed enforcement with electronic with cameras in school zones. It comes with a civil penalty. It doesn't count against a person's driver's license. But what has to happen is the board's got to adopt this whole process into our ordinance. An officer does have to go out and sit with, it says in the statute that an officer has to sign off on every ticket that's issued by that system. And so you are still gonna have to have manpower with that. And the money does go to the school system, with the exception of the pieces of the money that you would need as far as running the program, costs associated with running the program.
Okay.
We can keep that piece of the money, the rest of it has to go to CMS. And so, the one hang up to it again is, I'm just trying to think of, I have traffic officers go out there now. Sure, somebody could go out there and they could issue twice as many tickets out there, but if I still have to put an officer there, eventually maybe we'll get back to that point where we can do that. Our biggest area of concerns, Torrance Creek is pretty bad on Ranson Road. As far as speed goes, and then Barnett and Bradley out on Beatty's Ford. Those are both areas of concern, and there's other pieces. I'm probably leaving some of the bullet points out of what would be required to, like there's extra signage that has to go up. There has to be flashing beacons that say speed enforcement, camera enforcement ahead, but
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good, thank you.
May I add some commentary before we transition about the police facility? So remember last week when we were talking about opening town hall, that we talked about, we discussed that for 7 years before we moved into the building. And so we recognize that there is a period that it's going to take to firm the decision about whether we expand where we are. The space needs assessment would suggest that's probably not our best move. So where is the land? Once you have the land, where, what is the design and then construction period? So we recognize there is a multi-year process we're gonna have to follow here, but we need to get in your minds, much like 7 years ago, if we're gonna end up someplace else, we're gonna have to start working on that now to do so.
Yeah, and you'll see in the CIP, I mean, this is a prime example where a project, big project, could move forward versus backwards. I mean, and you'll see in the CIP that the building's probably in a future year, if I recall, and the land's in the 5-year period. But I don't know when we get land. May get land next week, maybe a year from now. I don't know. So this is a good example of a huge project that can have major impacts on my budget, one way or the other. But it is a need. But we've got to find land first, and once we get the land, then that's probably means we're gonna shift, the buildings will start to come forward. And it will have major impacts on the budget. But it's something we gotta do. As Chief said, even if he had it today, I mean, it'd probably 3 years before we bid in, if we started today, the process. So. Chief, Vaughn, he ate into your time by
I sat down at
Let me stop apologizing for Vaughn that he ran over the allocated time. I definitely will apologize for that part. I also told him I'd help him out. Vaughn, by the way, wants a helicopter. So if I can find, a little room in the budget for a helicopter, I told you Vaughn I'd help you out. Something like a little fire police humor, but he does want a helicopter. Don't say you know. So we'll hit on a couple topics for the fire department. Obviously, some station response area, especially for the new commissioners, and how you get the closest fire truck to your home when the 911 call comes in. We'll just go over the call volume from last year to this year. We'll look at the CIP for fire apparatus. Last year was the first board that bought 2 new fire apparatus, and this is updated every year. You'll see this in your budget retreat because there's a huge expense when it comes to buying fire trucks. The CIP for Station 1, 2, and 3, we'll look at that and see where we're at with that part and how we're just moving along with the future fire stations that we need and the reason why. We'll go over the med contract a little bit. Management and Commissioner Walsh we've been really heavy into the med contract, and I'm sure as we get closer with this, we'll get Emily more involved with that part because it will be a contracted service that they want to use our fire trucks to respond to for medical calls. And then we'll look at the part-time to full-time positions. We're taking baby steps to make this a 100% full-time fire department. Now it's a municipality. We'll talk over what Laura keyed in on about how, 25 full-timers and a bunch of part-timers and how important the part-timers are, but what we would be, in the future. So especially for the new commissioners, we threw up the new fire station on here, which is fire station number 5, which you'll see in the future in Hiawassee Road. We even threw a couple of the Cornelius and Davison fire stations on here. When we do respond to areas, it's all outlaid. We look at speed bumps, we look at stop signs, we look at the red lights that we're putting in, we look at everything that's going on. This way, when you dial 911, there's no guesswork. It's gonna pick the closest fire station for you to respond to that area, because the whole thing is to respond as an emergency call and give you the best service. We do respond to the Cornelius and Davison. We do go to Concord. We do go to Charlotte, and we do go to East Lincoln. So we're surrounded by other counties and other towns that we respond to. The greatest thing is that there's no money value exchanged. It doesn't cost. Cornelius Fire Department doesn't send Huntersville Fire Department a bill for coming to assist them, and it's vice versa throughout the whole county system and the surrounding counties. But you'll see on here that with fire station number 5 and pretty soon in its place. Right now, currently, fire station number 1 responds to that whole area. So you think about how big that area is in yellow, all the way out to the Renaissance Festival, all the way out to Highway 73 where they built the new Publix and Jersey Mike's and all that. You know, that is responded to by Fire Station number 1. It's about 11-minute drive out there. So we're doing the right thing. We're moving in the right path by definitely expanding. And it's doing a great job. And once that, I'll be proud to say, once it's built out there, it's going to definitely help the public having a quicker response time to their homes. When we throw some in our GIS, Francis has worked on this a lot with me. I just wanted to see what it looks like when you put geographically, you know, a radius around each fire station. You know, by putting fire station out in 5 number out there, we literally could touch every part of the Huntersville ETJ and the town limits now, looking at this map. What is even overlay, and that's what we need. We need overlay because if one of the fire stations is out on a call, you want the second closest one to go out to that area. You'll even see on this map, you know, when Stephen was talking about, you know, the Veerhoff Drive extension. You know, future roads are on here. You know, does that ever get built? You know, he's pushing for it, and then you got to make that decision. But right now, you think about it, there's no cut through. So when fire station number 1 wants to go assist at Skybrook, they drive all the way to the bottom, down by Walmart, Eastfield Road, they drive all the way around. There's no cut-throughs besides if you don't build the future roadways. So, you know, even when we looked at Irvin Cook Road, and I'll put it over here, Irvin Cook Road, years ago, we thought that was gonna be the greatest spot for a fire station. Irvin Cook Road's got connection to Burkdale, future roads were coming in there. But, you know, when you see what Stephen had, doesn't even look like we might all be dead in this room. I don't know. I mean, it looks like a 30, 40-year plan right now. And that's why we moved forward, you know, with the current fire station that we bought land for in last year's budget. So we're making some improvements. We definitely are. And when we build fire stations, we look at the heat maps. You know, where's all the calls coming in? You know, to the left there, you can see how many calls that fire station number 1 runs. It's the busiest fire station. It's the heart of really the Huntersville Fire Department because it assists everybody all over. It assists fire station 2, 3, 4, no matter where we go. And if I had a giant sum of money and unlimited, you can see there's a big gap between here and fire station number 1 in this corridor where this big red spot is. You know, that's your Statesville Road, Veerhoff, not Statesville Road, Veerhoff, 73 corridor. There's a lot of calls that come in there. It's a very busy area. The other heat maps that you can see, you know, there's some retirement homes in these areas that you see all red. This part here is about your Brighton Center. So the calls come in, and as it populates more and more, you know, the redness comes in. It's just to tell you, hey, this is where you're spending a lot of your time. But with fire station number 5 coming, we're hoping that they take a lot of the load off of fire station number 1 and share some of that calls out in that area. And again, it's all about the response time. Any questions on a couple maps? All right, good. So look at the calls for service. You know, the calls for service can be breaking down more. You see, we went to, was it 100 and, we've got the fires just as alone, 143 fires. In our computer systems, it breaks it down what kind of fires. It might be an outside fire, it might be a car fire, it might be a food on the stove fire, but it puts it all into one category, saying that, hey, you went to a fire, you had to maybe put water on it, you had to do those kind of tactics that we use at fires. So these are just very broad, broad just topics. As you can see, we went up in calls. We do every year about 300 to 400 extra calls come in. The one thing I'm worried about, last year it took 6 minutes, 35 seconds to get to your house. This year, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Any idea why? I'll give it to you. Roundabouts, traffic, stoplights, and the worst thing that I can say is going on is that when these fire trucks are dispatched to non-emergency medical calls, and I'm traveling 11 minutes to get to your home because it's a non-emergency medical call, we're kind of being, we're under that gun of, hey, we'll get there when we get there, but we got to sit in traffic also. And we've been, management and Mr. Walsh should give you a lot of credit for, sticking behind us with the medic calls. We want to use our fire trucks for emergencies. We're an emergency service. We carry EMTs on our trucks, emergency medical technicians. We're not non-emergency technicians. So, we have to really look at in the future as we're getting busier and busier, and they want to contract with us to say, hey, we really want your firemen on our calls. Well, let's go on emergency calls. You handle your own non-emergencies. Chief Baum and his department handles theirs. Electric Cities will handle their non-emergencies. They're first responders in the whole program when power lines go down. And so is the fire department. So we always, when one of these fire trucks you take that lives in Station 2's area, if you live off like Sample Road, you take that truck and you put it on a non-emergency call, there is nobody there in that to provide fire protection. Nobody. What's the next closest truck that's coming down from Sample Road? The next closest truck might be a Cornelius. It sure ain't Station 1. That's a long drive. So we have to make sure when we go to assist somebody that wants a contract with the Huntersville Fire Department and the town of Huntersville, that we're going on emergencies. This way we could use our apparatus for when we're needed, because nobody else could do our job. The police department doesn't carry water in their fire trucks. The medics don't carry SCBAs that we wear in our back when we go to rescue somebody. So we have to make sure we're available for the public. Anything on the last slide before we go to fire apparatus?
Yeah, what's bid and patent?
What's that?
What's bid and patent?
Yeah. Kind of like Vaughn's welfare checks, things like that. We do get a lot of, third-party call says, there's someone walking on the side of 115, and they look like they're staggering in and out of, well, instead of maybe sending an officer, or maybe they do send an officer, and a fire truck might be closer, maybe the person's intoxicated. Well, we get there and, hey, you okay? Yep, I'm fine. Okay, do you want medical help? Nope. Do you need the police department? Nope. Okay, what do you code it as? We put it as a good intent call. We got dispatch, we got there's nothing to it. We don't see any reason to call for the police department, or if they're there first, they might just say, hey, we got this, so wave us off. We don't end up knowing what it was. Yep.
Brian, a lot of times like a illegal burn or something like that too, like they'll get dispatched for a brush fire and they'll get out there and somebody's roasting marshmallows, People drive by and see things and call, and when they get out there, there's nothing to it.
We got a lot, since the phones have become more and more popular, everybody's got one, right? And sometimes those, it's the downfall of the emergency services, because, they call it for the silliest things. And no one stops anymore. They just keep rolling on. They just call 911. New commissioners, you're about to get your little education on fire trucks. Members of the board, they're just sitting next to you both. They ordered a fire truck, or 2 fire trucks last year. We came to them in obviously 2025 to buy fire trucks that will arrive in 2028. So it's a 3-year time frame to build and complete a fire truck to get it in service. So when we approach you for fire trucks, we try to plan out. Every year we add another year to this calendar, just so it doesn't shock you when we walk up here and we say, hey, we need $1.2 million to build a fire truck. This is about a 14-year plan. And every truck that we ride on that's in the fire service is on here. We took out the little SUVs and small vehicles because nothing of those costs millions of dollars. So we want to just educate you on how we buy fire trucks. There is a current fire truck being built. It should arrive in 2026 of March. It arrived in 2026 means we ordered it about 2023 at the price of $960,000. The same fire truck that these commissioners helped buy last year are now at 1.25. The same truck. Same color, same scheme, same everything it is. So fire trucks go up about, $60,000 over the next couple of years. So when we do approach you to buy fire trucks, if you drag your feet, if you say you don't think you need it, you just realize nothing's going to change on that part. You're just going to spend more money the following year.
If we order 2 trucks like today, do you pay for them now and get them
Great
future, or
question.
do you pay for the future?
We put down 60% of the funds that they require, and then when the fire truck comes in, if you look right here, sir, that's what we owe on the day of delivery. And same thing with the one that's coming in, I think it's in orange right here. I'm gonna show up the pointers hitting it. Again, 60% down, and then we'll cut a check for that upon delivery.
Chief, about how many companies out there build fire trucks?
All fire trucks, most of them are built in the Midwest. They're all custom order. The three big ones are Seagrave, Smeal, and Pierce fire trucks. There's a company out of Florida that's building them now, but the turnaround time, nothing's built. You just can't go to Park Chevrolet or Ford and pick one off the lot. It's all custom built. It literally takes us probably a good 6 to 8 months to sit down with the manufacturers, designers, and say, hey, this is what North Carolina law requires us to have on a fire truck. You know, that's what makes a fire truck, so much water, so much hose, so much everything else. And that's why when you look at a fire truck, you might say, yeah, I've seen a small fire truck in Chicago. Well, Chicago, Illinois is a little bit different than North Carolina's North Carolina fire laws. We have to require so many things and so many items on that fire truck just for it to be qualified as a fire apparatus and a class 1 fire apparatus. These fire trucks is what lowers our ISO rating, which is the insurance rating for the town. So we're the only fire department of the town that gets an insurance adjuster comes to us and says, hey, I want to see how many fire trucks you have. I want to see the ladder trucks. I want to see the equipment on the trucks. I want to see how many fires you went to. And this is how the town gets their insurance rating. Proud to say over the last couple of years, at one time we were a 6, now we're down to a 3. And that's from you investing in the fire department. You saying yes to, we need more fire trucks, more staffing, building more fire stations. That's what lowers the grading down. It also has to do with Charlotte Water. Anthony and Jackie work with the water department probably, multiple times a year, and they say, hey, what's your needs? You're trying to get down to a 1, which is the best. Greenville, Raleigh, Charlotte's a 1. The only reason we cannot be a 1 is because the town doesn't have water from one end to the other. And if you live out there towards Hiawassee Road and that area, there hasn't been hydrants put in yet. So one day you'll be there. In fact, I think when they come back, this coming next year or 2, I think we've done enough training, we've done enough putting on full-timers. I think we'll start to see maybe even a 2, which will really help out business. Business looks at that kind of number because that's how much money they pay for insurance when it comes to fire.
Chief, on the fire truck, I know the answer, but, people always talk about, well, gosh, if you build a 10-story building, you gotta get a bigger ladder. New York City's got, 100-story buildings, et cetera. Our fire trucks, the same ones that have them.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's good. So right here at the very bottom, it says Tower 1. We built 2019, I believe it is. We try to keep that fire truck for about 20 years. Tower 1 that rides out of Station 1 is the same fire truck that you'll see in the city of Charlotte. It's the same fire truck you'll see in New York City. All the fire trucks are built from the same manufacturer. Whether you got the Empire State Building and it's 100 floors, or you go down to Brighton Town Center that you're building 6-story apartments, the same type of fire truck is used. It's no different. They might pay a little bit cheaper because they order so many at a time, but that's the same fire truck. There's nothing in the United States that goes up to 110 feet high. That's about the ladder truck that you have a fire station 1 and 4. So whether you're on the 6th or 7th floor and you love to take a vacation, just realize that fire truck, no matter if you're in New York City or Huntersville, the ladder will only hit about the 6th or 7th floor. So it doesn't matter where else you are in this country. So if you stay past that, you're on your own. Know where the nearest fire exit is and don't use the elevator. A great point, Anthony. Thank you for bringing that up. Question on the cost of fire trucks. I made this graph. Made this probably about for Larry Irvin probably a good 15 years ago, and this is when we started presenting this to the board. And we just keep really just finding out from the manufacturer where we're at, how long does it take, because that's important, and what the cost is, because we don't want the sticker shock. I mean, I wouldn't walk up to you at this board meeting and say, hey, by the way, I just put into the budget for $1.2 million, or I need a helicopter. I wouldn't do that, and so we try to really plan for the future here. Moving on to fire stations. There's your oldest fire station. If anybody knows, on the Bays Ford Road, if you live out there by Sample Road, Duke Power area, Duke Energy, Energy United, all that kind of area. McGuire Nuclear Plant, the lake, they take care of all that area. It was built in 1963. It is on a septic tank, so it has definitely served its purpose. It doesn't serve the purpose of, what we were planning for the future, of having, full-time people there is made for me and Larry showed up as volunteers here, and we got in our, came with our trucks, and we jumped in a fire truck and took it out the door. So, and that's why, fire station number 2 has been a priority of Anthony's to find land. And then he succeeded, and this board succeeded in that purchase last year. Again, number 1, great fire station. It's downtown, it's in the heart of everything. Again, it was built for the volunteer fire service. Doesn't have the locker room space, doesn't have the female facilities that it needs to have. Doesn't even have an elevator, if you wanted to, someone in a wheelchair wanted to come upstairs to Huntersville 101. So, the future is to replace both of these, obviously. We're looking for land all the time for fire station number 1, but we need to keep it in an area that we feel is the heart of our town, that it can help other fire stations. And of course, on there's just a lot of the stuff that doesn't have that the future fire stations like 3 and 4 that we're building have. When we worked with town management and finding Station 2, we figured out Irvin Cook Road was not the best location. We worked with planning on this map, and I hope not sure if you can see it as good, but there's red lines all around what we felt was the heart of fire station number 2. One of the biggest problems with fire station number 2, when you start to move it, it has to be within 5 miles of the nuclear power plant. Not many people say they provide coverage to a nuclear power plant, but that isn't just the front entrance. When they measure road miles and the North Carolina looks at this, they'll measure from the very rear of Duke Power and come down all the way to the Highway 73, which is probably a good mile long, and then I could go to the left or right. If I went to the right, obviously it would take me into Lincoln County, which we don't want that. We don't need our fire station in Lincoln County. So we were able to find a spot right here on Highway 73, a very good plot of land, 9 acres. It's there for the future. It's going to be able to serve Burkdale community, the power plant, everybody along Betty's Ford Road. It's going to be and of course we run a lot of calls on the lake. So that fire station does have a boat. So when you go to build this fire station in a couple of years, we have a plan that we'll show you. You just got to remember, it's got to suit the size of what's going on now. It's got to be able to provide protection to the lake. It's got to have protection to the Burkdale area. And I would not doubt in my mind that when next time we're insurance rated, they'll probably ask us to really look at another ladder truck for that area. There's a lot of, they look at 3-story buildings or more. 3 to 100 stories, it don't matter. But they feel that you should have a ladder truck that serves an area if they got 3 stories or more. And what we're putting out there towards that Burkdale area. It's constantly growing. Again, fire station number 5, perfect piece of property. It's going to be beautiful. We're really we're going to make this fit into the community. We're not going to build some commercial looking building. It's got to suit the needs of the fire department, but we want it to fit the community. I think it's going to be great with having the park, for our neighbors. I see a lot of families just come to that park and come to visit this fire station. But we are working very hard right now to come up with ideas, and my team and the management's team will do our best to make sure this happens and makes it look good.
Chief, when will y'all, or Jackie, when are you picking the winner to start the process?
First week of February, Jackie?
We have interviewed 2 firms. those are the, we had 8 responses, 7 that we thought were,
6 that we thought
submitted
were-
timely.
yeah, Yep.
We reviewed a committee of firefighters, Jackie and Tricia Foster, our purchasing and contracting manager, reviewed the submittals. We chose 2 firms to speak to. Those interviews have been completed. We have not submitted and turned into Tricia our scoring matrix, but there's a firm that we think clearly was a better firm among the 2, and so our RFQ process would suggest that we would announce in February who that firm is and begin to negotiate a contract with that firm.
Little timeline on the, what I'll call the next project followed by the next 2. Obviously, Jackie gave you a really good idea of where we're at. We're Station 5. You know, we plan on sitting with the architect, obviously in 2026. Everybody that we talked to within those last 2 interviews say our timeline to build a fire station and get it up and running will be 2028. So when we sit here in 2027 together, you'll see staffing needs for the 2028. Again, right after that, we'll look at fire station number 2. You bought the land in 2025, already a check mark on there. You know, once we plan the architect in 2026, I'm sure a year later, we'll be looking at architect for station 2. And then again, looking for an opening, you know, the following year or year and a half, depending on how fast they'll build fire stations. And number 3, you know, we're trying to secure land. That's me and town management's biggest goal right now is to find you a piece of land that'll, you know, fit into the heart of this town. Everybody really enjoys a downtown fire station. No different than I think Vaughn would love to have a downtown police, department. It just fits that area. You know, it's your hub. You're surrounded by everything else that goes on. And we set a timeline for ourselves. Is the timeline adjustable? Sure is. But we try to set ourselves some goals together. And any questions on the timeline or last couple stations? Medic contract. So in 2024, the board canceled the contract. The contract was signed by me back in 2017 when I was incorporated fire chief. Moving forward, we felt that, you know, the town should now have the contract, not the incorporation, because we're no longer around. So we canceled the contract. You know, there is some verbiage in the current contract that doesn't suit the town of Huntersville, doesn't suit my needs, and I would hope that we don't sign that contract. And Emily wasn't involved in that contract, so, you know, having legal look at the new contract when it comes around is gonna be very important. But me and Jackie have been attending meetings with Medic. We tried to negotiate a couple things here and there. Anthony Roberts has asked for even some ambulance response times, and we got nothing. We, you know, not only Anthony, but I should say the whole county. From the city of Charlotte, and following our cancellation, prior to us was the city of Charlotte. They canceled their contract, and now Cornelius Fire Department has canceled their contract. So we're all waiting now. Medic has hired what do you want to call it?
Consultant?
The consultant, there's
Yeah,
a consultant
healthcare
reviewing their
strategies.
business practices.
Healthcare Strategies is is basically just going to look over the whole system as a whole. They're going to look over, you know, the types of responses that Medic goes on to the types of responses that they're sending the fire service on. They're trying to dig deep to see what kind of numbers, you know, they're really looking at when it comes to how long does it take to get a fire truck there, and how long does it take to get a medic truck there. You know, are they using fire truck apparatus numbers and saying they're within 6 minutes, or is it really taking 30 to 40 minutes? And the type of calls that we go on. You know, I don't think I should be sending a fire truck on someone that's constipated or has broken their fingernail during an assault. I mean, those are the kind of things that when that fire truck goes out of service because it's attending them or sitting with that patient now waiting for a medic truck, and something big happens in your home, you know, I'm obligated to act. The duty to act is upon me because I've been dispatched and I have to go take care of that patient. But there's just some types of calls that we don't need to be on. And that's the part that we're trying to negotiate our hardest on, and make them understand. You know, nobody would want to add a medic truck to the thousands of fire alarms, but a fire alarm is considered a structure fire until we get there and say, no, it's not a structure fire, it's food on the stove, or you set it off by smoking. Now, if I added thousands of calls to the medic organization, they would say, oh, no, we don't want to go on that. Well, there's other calls I don't want to go on. So do you see that, if you do your job, I'll do my job, and the police department will do their job, and everybody will get along when we need to get along together and do our jobs together. Because when we're out there working together, we do a fabulous job. It's just it's just making sure that we're available for you when you do call 911.
I have some trigger words and just can't, I'm a trained SEAL, I can't hold myself out of jumping through that hoop. Medic is one of them. And so one of the people that you, Anthony, has tasked to discuss with Medic our current situation is me. I will always, I can't turn it off, I will discuss with you specifics. Please don't let me attempt to negotiate something that is incongruent with what you want. This fiscal year, we have budgeted, we expect to receive about $106,000 of our $67 million in the general fund of annual revenues from Medic. Medic is paying us about $100,000 to go on some calls. They don't pay us to go on every call, but they pay us to go on some calls. I'd like to give you two examples of calls that I refer to as low acuity calls or first responder only calls. We use several different pieces of terminology. The chief shares with me that the county has an exclusive contract with Medic to transport. We do not have transport capacity in our fire department to take an individual to the hospital in a fire truck. We don't have the assets, we don't have the ambulances, and we don't have the right to do that. The county has an exclusive right with Medic to do that. Two calls that I'm aware of that they have dispatched fire departments on. Our fire department was dispatched on a constipation call. A patient called in, they're constipated. Our $1 million fire truck with our personnel responded on that call. I don't mean to talk ill of a patient. I'm not trying to cross a HIPAA line here. What I'm saying is I don't dispute that this person needed to be transported to the hospital. I dispute that our fire truck was going to be able to help them. So our position is Medic should have sent an ambulance and our fire truck should never have been dispatched. 100% of the truth is the next one I'm going to describe to you. The chief was on a call dispatched by the city of Charlotte. Our fire department did not go, but you helped me discuss or rationalize what a $1 million fire truck was going to do for these people. And so a Charlotte fire truck got dispatched. The call was somebody called in and said, I took a pregnancy test yesterday, two pregnancy tests yesterday, and they were both positive. I started spotting this morning, and I took a pregnancy test, and it was negative, and I need to go to the hospital. Okay, so I don't dispute this person needs medical care, emergency medical care maybe, but a Charlotte fire truck was dispatched on this call, and so once the Charlotte fire truck arrives there, the patient can describe this to the Charlotte Fire Department again, and there are 3 Charlotte firefighters standing outside waiting in the house until Medic arrives to transport them. Medic only receives payment if they transport. Medic, I think, don't mind going on that call. What was the Charlotte Fire Department? What aid can they give to this person? And so our current contract with Medic says that we will respond and that we are dispatched whenever and wherever they dispatch us. And so until you tell me something different, I'm assuming that your position is we don't want to be dispatched whenever and wherever. We are committed community partners. We believe we should respond in an emergency situation. Pinned in on the interstate, please send our fire department. That's exactly who should go. We should help, and Medic has a part to play in that as well. We believe on our emergency calls, there's no doubt we should go. That $106,000 that we're receiving in the budget, I've said these words, if this is not your intent, please correct me publicly now. Keep your $106,000. We don't need that $106,000 to balance our budget if we're not sending our truck with our gas and our personnel and the maintenance on our trucks. If we're not sending our people to sit for whatever period of time it takes Medic to get there and see to it that nothing goes any worse with that patient before Medic is able to respond. If I don't have to go on those low acuity calls, I really believe that there is a cost savings in our fire department budget. Part of our research would suggest that Medic did not add a single ambulance, not one, to respond to calls between 2018 until this year's budget. My position is that I believe when the municipalities began to complain, I believe what they're doing is sending our fire department on calls when they don't have the staff or the vehicles to do it. And so as the municipalities begin to complain about going on the low acuity calls for the first time in years rather than just replacing ambulances, they have an add to budget this year of 10 to their fleet. So they had 72 ambulances that were able to respond on a regular basis in 2018 through 2025. They had added 9. They're adding 10 to their fleet this year. Isn't that great? That's awesome. Is that the right amount? I don't know. Hopefully the study will tell them that. If they don't have the personnel to put on those ambulances, I'm not sure that helps either. Their position is they've added a lot of positions this year. Help me, Chief. Charlotte gave notice to cancel their contract in August of '23. You took action in December of '23. At the end of the current fiscal year, we will have no contract. And so the words that I have said to the medic director is we need some relief in the new contract from the obligation to respond to every call, wherever and whenever. And if you feel differently, please communicate that to me and the chief so we can have different discussions with them. We negotiated a contract literally on July 4th last year when the contract was set to expire at midnight on the night of July 7th. I have asked them this year, can we please not wait till the last minute this year? We have a meeting, I think it's later in February, it could be March, for us to begin to negotiate that contract. They don't want to negotiate it last minute any more than we do. It was inconvenient for everybody. We're committed community partners. There are calls we believe we should go on, frankly, without being compensated for them. There are calls we believe we're being dispatched on that we should not go to. If you feel differently, please communicate that with us so we can negotiate differently with Medic.
Thank you. You know, if this was all about money, me and Chief Barbie and Fire Chief for Charlotte, we sat down and figured out, like, hey, what is the cost, you know, to send fire trucks with an EMT? And, you know, if half of our calls are, you know, would be half of the fuel, right? If I'm going on if half my calls are medical related and I'm spending $20,000 on fuel, well, that means $10,000 of it is for medical. And so we put this cost estimate together, the three of us, and we did throughout the whole county. And Huntersville came back at $1.6 million.
Wow.
$1.6 million. And that was just putting one EMT on a fire truck. Every day, guess how many we had? We had 18. We were only going to say, well, hey, we're only charging you for one, you know, because that's what you would get on an ambulance. So we didn't even try to, you know, recoup all the money or anything. In fact, like I said, we did half of the maintenance. We had half of the fuel, but you know, $1.6 million is really what the cost is for these fire trucks that are going on these calls. And like Jackie said, $106,000 comes back. We would save that probably in the first month that we didn't go on these low acuity calls.
Yeah.
We should be there for the high acuity ones. We should be there for the true emergencies, the CPRs, the difficulty breathing, the asthma attacks, going to the schools where there's young children that are having, you know, allergic reactions. When they flip on those lights, those red lights, we should flip on ours. Thank you. Part-time to full-time staff. You know, you took the big step of obviously bringing on the municipal fire department. It was 100% part-time. And we, in the first round of employee hiring, we did our 18 full-time firefighters. Out of the 6 fire trucks, that means that there's 2 that are fully staffed with full-timers. This is the next step. We want to do 1 more fire apparatus. We want to make 3 fire apparatus that'll have full-time firefighters. And I'll give you the last, which I thought was a bullet or the leaf. You know, this was Commissioner Walsh when he was our liaison. You know, when you put full-time firefighters on these fire trucks, they're yours. You know, no different than the police department has members. When they're part-timers, they're somebody else's. And if that part-timer, you know, is called back for the city of Charlotte and they say, hey, we're getting ready to have some snow Saturday, I need you to work. Well, they're no longer available for us to put on a fire truck. But when we put them on the fire truck and they're making them full-time, then we know there's people on these fire trucks. And that was your big step that you took when you took on the fire department. And now we're just gradually taking steps to grow every year. You know, as the town grows, just make sure you let us grow with it. Out of the 18, like I said, you know, we'll add another fire apparatus, add the 6 fire apparatus that run around town all day long, go in the fires and rescues and everything else that happens. You know, half of that staff will be part-time and half of the staff will be full-time.
Chief, I got one on this one too. To me, your full-time employer compels a schedule. Anthony is my full-time employer. Jackie, I need you to spend 2 nights at Grayland. Here I go. Jackie, I need you to show up at 7:30 to give a tour of Newtown Hall. There I go. Your full-time employer compels a schedule. We have benefited wildly for years. Chief, 90% of your part-time staff are a full-time employee of a different fire department.
That's correct.
And so when a full-time employer compels a schedule and when they're willing to pay you time and a half for overtime, which is 50, 75 bucks an hour, when your part-time employer is willing to pay you 22 bucks an hour, the way he puts his part-time to schedule now is he knows when he's a full-time employer. He knows when his full-time employees are gonna show up for work. He prepares the part-time schedule. Here's all the shifts that I have available. So if he doesn't have part-time staff agree to come in and work those shifts, then he's not putting that truck on the road the way we are providing him budget to put that truck on the road. And so if on a regular basis he's saying, I'm not having enough people choose to work these part-time shifts, that's why he's asking you to convert some of those part-time dollars to full-time dollars so he can compel a schedule so somebody shows up to warrant being on that truck so that they'll be on that truck.
Very good. You know, what we're looking for is 3 captains. That's what you need on 1 per shift. 3 engineers, and then we will backfill by having another hiring process for firefighters. What this does, though, you gotta realize, you know, when you're a smaller department and you've been a full-time firefighter and now you have an opportunity to become an engineer or a captain, now you go up to the next pay level. You know, there's a process to get to that level, from interviews to scenario-based, but it shows growth. And nothing's better than, you know, someone to be able to move up. You know, it comes with obviously a better salary and everything else that you get here, and that's what's important too. I mean, growth is very important. When we do hire the 6 firefighters that we'll need, we'll go outside the department, put out like we always done for job listings, working with HR. Last time we did this, I kept it open for 1 week. That's all I needed. I had 62 applications that wanted to be a Huntersville fireman for 6 positions. I cut it off after a week. If I couldn't find 6 people for you, out of the 62, I would have been ashamed. And that's how quick, you know, when people see on social media that the Huntersville Fire Department's hiring, you know, we're fortunate that people do want to do this job. You know, it might be, I'm not gonna say my leadership, but it might be the stations that we're building. It might be the fire apparatus that you help us buy. Something has got to draw, and it's a lot of it now is the town benefits, the medical benefits that you provide. So they're leaving other departments to come here to work for Huntersville. I have firefighters that come all the way from Hickory, you know, to be here. So proud to say that they are coming to Huntersville because they want to work. They want to work for this town. So just to go over the budget items real fast. Again, is to promote 3 captains to 3 engineers. so we'll need a little salary increase there. We'll backfill with the 6 firefighters, and we'll go outside the department with that. If there's any part-timers that would do work for us, we'll obviously, be interested in them also. We do have, obviously, extensive background checks that'll have a cost to it. Again, when you promote firefighters or you take on new firefighters, there's always a gear increase. Every time we buy the gear for the firefighters, it's about $5,000 a person. So it's very expensive. It only lasts 10 years, but that is part of it. We do have a part-time EMS coordinator. Just yesterday alone, the part-time EMS coordinator and myself, we had 20 people from Park and Rec, had to do CPR, first aid, and infant CPR. So they're all certified. I think a week before that, did they go down to the police station? Yeah, they worked with the police department, getting them their certifications, squared away. But we're working our way through other departments, and this is great. I mean, eventually, it might be yourselves that want to take a CPR class or come sit in on that class, and it's great to know that kind of stuff. So as we make our way around to the other departments, I mean, we feel this is really great. The EMS coordinator also takes care of all our in-service training that we need. They take care of a lot of the reports for EMS and the doctors that we practice, the doctor we practice under. As we add more firefighters to the organization, there's always insurance premiums that go up. The more you risk your life in this job and add people to it, your insurance changes. It's a high-risk job. They're not going to say, hey, I've noticed you only work 3 days a month, and now you go to work 10 days a month. You just took a higher risk on your life. So the town's insurance premiums go up. So we have to cover the cost of that. And the last part is the department administrative analyst. Analyst. So basically, I'm looking for somebody. Right now, finance does a lot with our carry. Looks at paying the bills for the fire department. We're all looking for someone that would just be part of the fire department that could take care of that could help out Laura and HR when it comes to the hiring and the processes and everything. Maybe it'll take some that kind of jobs, part of just fire only. We'd never had one yet. I've never had one even when I was with the incorporation. So this is, I think a future position here is going to be very, very well used. I don't see it going away. In fact, I think one of these days you might have your whole staff for a fire department, no different than what the police department has. That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions before I leave?
How are we doing our retention of our current firefighters? Are we having the same issue like the police were before?
No,
Or is that just
I mean,
Lon's
we're
problem?
fortunate enough that people do want to be in the
They want to be
service.
firefighters.
The good thing is, like I said, when we put it on the social media apps and everything, people are willing to as long as they're certified and trained. Right now, that's what we look for, because we want to get them in the door. They already have the certification. PCC is building a fire training academy. I'm not sure if you know this, on Veerhoff Drive. Center. When that happens, people that want to go to college to get that certification, just like BLET, go into their fire academy. They will come out with that certification, and we can say, hey, next year we're hiring 6 people. Apply. You have the certification. You have everything you need. And this is how you get the young firefighters, into your door. Because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that 20-year-old, 22, 18-year-old that, took these college. Maybe they got the associate's degree, and the next thing you want to know, we put them right to work and go through some of the basics that we want to teach you, but you have that certification that we need to put you on the roster.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's break time now.
Break time.
Yeah.
5 extra minutes. Break.
States on Wednesday.
All right, we finished our break. George is here for HFFA. Well, Zach is here too. Floor is yours.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate everybody being here, and thank you for having us present what our current status is and where we see HFFA going to be going on in the future. I'm going to start off with talking about facility impact and community relations. HFFA continues to see facility attendance in our large-scale historical events with the swimming and diving events. We do continue to see an increased use and also the visitor participants that are in those events. We're averaging anywhere from a little over 25,000 visitors right now, which is an increase of about 3,000 visitors for those large-scale events for swimming and diving. Those increases have every year continued to grow based off of the programming that we are currently doing and adding throughout the year. The exclusive partnerships with our nationally ranked swimming and diving teams that operate out of the facility, SwimMac Carolina, Carolina Dive Academy, they continually produce nationally ranked athletes, and they are all preparing for either continuing their swimming and diving careers with, if it's in the college and scholarship opportunities, and or more importantly, got 28 Olympics coming up, Summer Olympics in LA. So they're all preparing and training for that. And so within those events, we have seen certainly a large increase from the visitor side, as well as the overall attendance from the athletes. We continue to be a destination for those competitive aquatics events in the region, and that reputation is bringing more and more events and requests to the facility itself. Looking ahead, FY26, our expectations are that the visitors that will be coming in for those events overall will continue to grow based on the partnerships that we have with those individuals, and also our regional high school programs that we participate in working with. Also going to be planning on expanding our actual race series. Right now we're hosting annually the Huntersville Sprint, but happy to report we'll be continuing and expanding on the race series itself and focusing on expanding to more of a quarterly race series. So in the near future, you'll start seeing publications coming out and registrations available for our 5K that we're going to be hosting in May. So keep an eye out for that. Looking ahead, looking ahead to the summer and talking about our holiday camp participation numbers, that also continues to grow at about a 5% rate year after year. As you can imagine, families are looking at HFFA to have their children come to our programs to be participants and to continue supporting our overall community and our goals. While this is a good thing as far as the increase in participation and enrollment, we do have some challenges as far as space limitations. The facility space is reaching its max capacity during our peak times, and looking to really work on our dynamic scheduling changes, so that way we can flex the spaces as much as possible between children's services and our fitness department. So we do use the facility as best as we can with converting those spaces over for, again, either children's services and or fitness, and making sure that we're able to accommodate where we can with the growth that we're going to be expecting. Constantly working to optimize how we use every square foot, like I said, and so it's going to be important for us to continually look at that schedule and be able to expand for the children and families that are a part of our programs. As far as community partnerships are concerned, we do, again, continually work with the dynamic scheduling, so that way we can flex for if it's going to be a one-time use or regular reoccurring type of program. Some of our current partners that we work with, U.S. Coast Guard Academy, Scouting America, Girl Scouts of USA, regional schools, and of course the youth sports programs. Within these programs, They're also looking for either the community room space that we have for trainings and/or, again, the specific swimming and diving portions of the facility itself. This really provides us the ability to impact the greater community and support our initiatives when making HFFA a destination for everyone to utilize. We're touching so many aspects of community life, from military to education to a youth development. It's amazing how much we can really do at that facility, and not just from a fitness and aquatic perspective. In addition, we have continued to expand the partnerships with local nonprofits, and which go beyond, obviously, the use of our space. For instance, our partnership with Angels and Sparrows is multifaceted. We're engaged in offering youth fitness classes and a series specifically for their families and children involved with Angels and Sparrows at no cost to them. We've also opened up our summer camp enrollment with offering 25 scholarship positions and spots for summer camp. But it goes much further than that, and those of you that are members, you have always seen our donation tables and our supply drives that we have done. And certainly Angels and Sparrows and a few others that are highlighted on the slide here, Hope House and Cool Kids Clubhouse, which are mainly our longstanding partners. But certainly we are open to working with other nonprofits in the area in order to serve their missions for the community itself. But each one of those drives, which are typically paired up with our membership promos that we will run for each month, those drives have been tremendous impacts for the nonprofits in the area. With our giving tree that we had this past Christmas, we impacted, I believe it was about 25 children, about 70 families overall. And certainly that goes from either providing toys and children's items that they would be looking for, but also from your household items as well, cleaning products and basic necessities overall. Hope House as well is one of those nonprofits that, again, we have a longstanding relationship with. Again, working with those donation opportunities and those supply drives, they have truly felt an impact from our community overall. And it pretty much brings us to the point of, again, thinking about where HFFA stands in the community and how much we are doing for the community. It's not just the Fitness and Aquatic Center overall. Cool Kids Clubhouse provides support for children diagnosed with cancer. This partnership is an opportunity for us to be an inclusive environment for those individuals and those families that might just need a little bit of a break. And so that partnership is going to be certainly a focal point for us as we move forward for the summer. They typically are looking for opportunities to use our splash pad during the summer and give the kids a little bit of time over there. So that will continue to expand as we move forward. Again, while these are the three that are highlighted on the slide are our most recent and longstanding, we're certainly open to working with all of the nonprofits in the Huntersville area in order to support their missions. We've also partnered with local animal shelters. Most recently was Cornelius Animal Shelter. As far as the drives were concerned with support and donations, we did help support them so that way they can certainly support the animals that they are holding and waiting for their forever homes. The first slide that I had up was a picture of that one of those donation opportunities, and then we were able to do a great drive for the shelter itself. We've also developed regional sponsor opportunities and community engagement partnerships with large players in the growing area. We've already partnered with some of the groups, again, listed on the bullet point, but are beginning some new and expanded partnerships with groups such as Manatee Homes, Arden at Huntersville, Pulte for Bryant, and the new development that's coming online, Merritt Communities. Certainly, we're also working with the local realtors, manufacturing companies, and new business coming to the region to strengthen our partnerships within those areas. These partnerships obviously are multi-purpose, right? They connect to the community members. They get the engagement from the organizations themselves to give back to the community. But it also provides an opportunity for our members to give back as well and support all of those organizations that we do partner with. And HFFA is certainly a central hub to, you know, the continued growth and development that we're seeing here at, in Huntersville. When it comes to memberships, this is the direct impact of all of the community partnerships that we are working with and a part of. We're continuing to see a successful drive in the net memberships year over year. Membership growth rate of about 14% in a competitive market. That is a pretty outstanding number. And it demonstrates, obviously, what we are doing, HFFA is doing, and the team members in order to continue driving the value that we provide at the facility itself. While we have that 14% growth rate, the overall increase in our revenue is 2.5%. We've continued to see the discounted rate memberships that we offer, excuse me, being the largest growth rates in our populations. While we continue to see those growth rates in our standard rate operations and standard rate member classes, they certainly don't grow as quickly as the discounted rates themselves. As we're evaluating and we're looking at the local areas, we are continually reviewing the industry and the local competition to make sure that HFFA remains not only competitive in our pricing model, but also within our offerings that we currently have and looking to add to in the future. With it, at this time, we're confident that HFFA is well positioned to remain competitive in this space, and we continue to look at the overall offerings to make sure, again, we're providing the members what they're looking for. As far as the insurance programs are concerned, you might recall HFFA partners with multiple insurance providers to be a top location for seniors in the local area. Some of those opportunities are going to be truly subsidized and/or free memberships for the community based on the insurance providers. Unfortunately, we've seen we were recently impacted by the changes implemented by one of the medical insurance subsidized programs. Blue Cross Blue Shield is no longer participating in Fit On. And with that, it was a major impact for us in order to attract new members with the Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance itself. While these programs are covered with the ability to either, again, subsidize or provide a no cost to the member itself, we do have other programs that we do work with, Fit On, Renew Active, and Silver and Fit. We're continuing to have conversations with additional insurance subsidized programs, and more to come with that as we are looking to expand those opportunities within the area for the members. Going to move on to, excuse me, let me go back. On the bottom, talking about market expansion. I talked about earlier as far as our reach outside of the 4 walls of the facility, or 20 walls in the facility. We're looking to certainly continue our reach with the current partners that we have, see where we can expand with them, as well as the new opportunities that are in the area overall. Increasing the market exposure through our community partnerships and overall facility provides us the ability to showcase facility discounted rates. Some of our most notable discounts are going to be specifically for the active and veteran military, certainly public safety, as well as school employees and their families. A lot of the facilities in the area do not provide a discounted membership for veterans. So we have obviously pivoted to that ability, and we're proud to be one of the only ones in the area that do provide the discounted memberships for not only active, but also our veteran community. We're also expanding the facility scholarship opportunities for the location. All of these scholarship opportunities would be for the specific memberships that we offer and/or for summer camp. So as I mentioned before, we have 25 current spots available for Angels and Sparrows. We believe that the financial barriers, of course, should not impact the community, and those that are looking to be a part of fitness and wellness activities. So we're certainly looking to make sure that we are breaking down those barriers and be able to help out anybody that's looking to be a part of HFFA. Moving on to capital and operational expenditures. I want to shift to some of the items that we are currently in progress with, and then we'll talk about some of the completed. But the first one that you see there on the list for in progress is the Dectron 3. Dectron 3, as you know from a previous approval, and I appreciate everybody's support on that, we will be looking to replace, and we are going to be replacing the HVAC system that does operate and that does support the small 25-yard therapy pool. That is a warmer climate overall versus our competitive large pool. And that system is going to be coming online in the May-June timeframe as far as the install of that new piece of equipment. It'll be a two-phase project. The second phase will be the ductwork, which will happen in August. And so that'll happen during our general annual shutdown that we do for each pool. And so we'll align that properly so that way the users and the members are not impacted during that time frame with that installation itself. The HVAC for the pools are certainly unique, where they do mitigate the humidity and obviously provide the comfort level that the user groups are looking for, and as well as reducing the chloramines that our athletes and or members might experience in an aquatic center. If you've been to any of the indoor pools, it's always been a challenge for any aquatic indoor facility, and certainly we're no different. That unit will be, again, an exciting addition and improvement to the overall infrastructure of the facility. Our landscaping, as you probably have seen the emails that are coming out, we're in the middle of our landscaping project for the front of the building and our west parking lot. That is ongoing. That is going to be a fantastic enhancement to the facility itself. Although it is cosmetic, it's also going to be infrastructure improvement as well. So when you talk about drainage and you talk about overall support of the building, those are going to be important, an important and much needed improvement overall. With the landscaping project, we're going to be installing 43 trees plus irrigation from the building and the west parking lot itself. And we will also be looking to, in the near future, also adding to the landscaping with your perennials and annuals and all of that. So it will be a multi-staged approach, but the initial phase right now is going to be those trees, and they're all breaking those down now and removing the existing in order to get everything prepared for the new planting that's going to occur overall. So there will be some impact for the membership parking lots, but we've already communicated that out, and we will continue to keep all of our user groups and members up to date as far as how that progress goes. Of course, this is going to be weather permitting, and we have a storm coming in this weekend, so we'll see what those delays or potential delays might be as we move forward. Third is going to be for our 50-meter pool and our equipment that serves all of our competitions. So the competition pool, we do have a full timing system and scoreboard, as well as additional computer support. So all of that is something that we are continually looking to either repair and or replace. With all of the large events that we are hosting again every year, this is going to be one of those demands that the user groups that we currently have, but also new user groups that are looking to use our facility, they're going to want to see all the modern equipment that is out there. So that way, we can continue to remain competitive. We had started that process last year with the addition of the new HVAC systems in the large pool, as well as the replastering and lighting already that we added for the renovations. So now the next step is to continue improving those operational enhancements. Some of the completed projects that are highlighted, we did, and I'm proud to say that These went off, knock wood, without a hitch. With the 50-meter pool, we did two different repairs in that area. We had one of the filtration pumps and motors that we did have to replace. We have two basic sand filtration pits in the backyard of the facility, an outdoor filtration room area. One of those motors and pumps was replaced, as well as the filter media for that same pit that we have. The sand filter media is the actual substance that helps filtrate the system and maintain the quality water that everybody's looking for. The laterals that were replaced for the facility actually help with the flow of the water within the system. And so all of that had been done pretty much in conjunction with each other. Once we had changed out the motor and the pump, we needed to also go ahead and do the sand filter change in that area as well. So we will be looking to, in the future, doing the second pit that is on site for that facility. You think about 1 million gallons of water in that 50-meter pool, you need a strong and reliable filtration system in order to maintain that facility as needed. Certainly with a facility as big as ours is, and the age of the facility, the infrastructure is going to be always important for us. And so unfortunately, we did have an emergency repair that had to happen this year as well with the hot water supply to the HVAC system for the 50. With an aging building, again, there is no surprise that this would occur as far as the emergencies are concerned. We're just trying to mitigate and be proactive in those approaches, but inevitably something's going to happen. Some ongoing projects and things that we're looking at for the future. We continually are looking at the roof and looking at any type of review and or repairs that might need to be done, making parking lot improvements and repairs as needed. We're also already thinking about the summertime and getting ready for our splash pad. I know it's pretty cold outside right now, but we're already in planning mode for that. So with the summer, you can imagine the amount of excitement for that splash pad and all the features that are there. And so we are looking at making some renovations and repairs to the pool deck and the pump room improvements, so that way we're ready to go for the overall user experience. We're also looking at implementing some energy conservation measures, and thank you to Bobby for connecting us with Trane. They will be here. In fact, they were just here for their initial review on the facility, and probably in about 30 to 60 days, they'll have a report on us, for us in order to review it and see where we can possibly do some energy cost savings overall. So thank you, Bobby, for that. As you can imagine, overall, again, with the facility being 20 plus years old, the infrastructure is going to be the most important for us. And a lot of these major systems, the protection for them are going to be the most important overall. And being able to provide preventative maintenance schedules for those pieces of equipment are going to be the most important overall. I'd rather be as proactive as possible than trying to mitigate any type of short-lived or shortened lifespan that we might have seen in the past. We're trying to avoid that. We're also addressing the bleachers that are in the large pool space for all of our spectators. If you've been to the facility over the weekends when we're hosting one of those large events, you're going to see anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 either participants and athletes and visitors overall. So the bleachers do get the use, and certainly we're going to try to mitigate as much as we can for those repairs and or renovations as we look forward to the future. As far as fitness equipment is concerned, same thing. Just talking to Chief Vaughn about preventative maintenance schedules for equipment. And our fitness equipment is just over about 4 years old. And so we are starting to see some of those repairs kick in and or potential replacements, whether it's piecemealed or we'll take a look and see if we need to do multiple pieces of equipment at a time. But certainly, the heavy usage that we're seeing is going to be a major impact there. As far as future capital planning and for capital projects, don't get scared. This is just a list. This is not a request. So myself, Zach, and town staff will certainly get together and provide you guys some guidance as far as what we are looking at overall as far as the needs of the facility itself. The list here is basically set up in matter of importance based on the protecting the building and also the successful programs that we currently are running and are looking to run in the future. So with the bulkhead, the 50-meter bulkhead that's listed up there, that is the movable wall that helps us create that dynamic scheduling for the large pool itself. And with that movable wall, we're able to reconfigure the pool for competitions or practices or just recreational, programming. And so right now, it's essential that we maintain that flexibility in order to meet the demand that is there from all of our user groups. And with that, the current situation is that it is getting increasingly more difficult to be moving that bulkhead to where we need it to be, basically about halfway down the pool. It typically lives on one end of the pool, and we have to move it manually to the middle of the pool. So that is going to be one that is going to be coming down. The main locker room, hot water storage tanks, and that whole hot water systems for the main locker rooms, that is in need of a redesign. And as I just said, one of the vessels needs to be replaced based off of state inspection and certification. There is a crack in that storage vessel. The state is aware of it, and they are working with us on the timeline for that replacement itself. Due to the size and the location of the tanks, basically the room was built around the tanks. So the large vessels that we have, about 525 gallons per vessel, both of those would have to be broken down and removed because they won't fit through a standard doorway. And so we'll have to look at how to do that. Plus, in that same mechanical room, we do have our main electrical transformer and some other large pieces of equipment in there. So that is going to be a redesign. I have the redesign plans, just waiting for the quotes to come in for the actual work itself. Talking about the summer again, as we approach the summer, and hopefully everybody praying for warmer weather. Splash pad is obviously going to be the most important, and we want to be able to support that facility as best as we can. So we have a couple of areas that we're looking at for repairs and or replacement. You're going to be looking at up here as far as the features are concerned, the rehabilitation of the existing features that we have. And also a little bit further down on the slide is going to be the replacement of the actual water slide that we have. So you can see those both up there. As far as the 25-yard pool is concerned, we talked about the Dectron already being replaced, the HVAC systems, but also we're going to be looking at replacing the heater that supports that pool. As you know, that water therapy pool, that water temperature is higher than our competition pool. So we keep that pool around 87 degrees overall on average, and that heater is struggling to maintain consistent water temperatures. I'm not saying that there's an issue right now, but it's going to be a concern if we don't look at that in the future. Also with the 25 is going to be a replastering of that facility. Just like we did for the 50-meter pool last year, this plastering is going to have to occur in order to maintain the water quality and the overall experience for the users in that space. It's showing increased signs of wear and tear, but it's not a priority at this moment. As far as the West Locker Room boiler replacement, that is probably one of our oldest pieces of equipment in the facility. We were trying to look back at the dating on that. It's certainly going to be about 12, maybe even 15 years old. So that is aging out on the lifespan of that unit itself. Certainly it's working right now, but it just, again, trying to be as proactive as possible. Couple other items, the 50-meter infrared heating stations. This is going to be specific to the diving programs that we support. Again, if you think about the 50-meter pool being a destination for national and regional competitions, we need to provide a comfort level for the divers that are going to be a part of that facility. Those infrared stations are going to be primarily on the backside of the pool by the diving boards and the platforms, just to help the comfort level for the divers themselves. So that is an opportunity where we can help support those programs. The 50-meter pool scoreboard replacement is another area that we want to take a look at. Again, to remain competitive within the area for these large-scale events and getting our facility to be, set up to the modern-day standards. The scoreboard that we currently have is, we're seeing its fair share of repairs and mitigations on that. So we will be looking at to do a replacement on that scoreboard. And then finally, Studio A. Studio A for our group classes right now is, again, all of our facility itself is a fantastic facility for anybody looking to use and be a part of our group exercise classes. We average 85 classes per week, so there is a heavy usage and heavy flow for those studios. And Studio A is one of those areas that we pinpointed for a renovation that certainly needs to happen in the future for, again, bringing it up to modern day state-of-the-art facility. As I mentioned, these are not full requests at this moment. This is just a list and a roadmap to what we're looking to do over the next couple of years. We try to be as strategic as possible in order to make sure that these are being addressed and before they provide us an opportunity for potentially a shutdown or a closure for a particular facility. Obviously, we don't want that. The members don't want that, and we want to stay ahead of it. So this list is all-encompassing on that basic roadmap itself.
Are any of these, need to be done this year? Is there more, is there some that we need to push up?
The hot water design for the locker rooms, I would say, is probably going to be one of the top priorities. Yeah.
The main hot locker?
I'm sorry?
The main locker room for the
The
hot
main
water?
locker rooms, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What we'll probably do is get Joy, Zach to prioritize these, and see if we can, knock some out sooner rather than later, so.
Yeah.
Like I said, we haven't had that quite discussion yet, but I'm sure we will have that and be able to bring something back.
Have it fixed before.
Boiler, we're probably gonna push that one up too.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one?
The list, just for clarity, the list as you see it today is generally in that priority list.
Okay.
That's why that main locker room one is so high. It's just a question of what can we potentially push off versus what we really think absolutely has to happen. Again, knock on wood, everything's working as it is. With the newest news from the state, we probably would be looking to shift 1 and 2. But in regards to what we can discuss through the budgeting process, certainly our hope would be to get more than just that done this year if possible. Certainly because things like the bulkhead repairs, we don't want to reach a stalemate where all of a sudden we can't perform the functions for our year-round groups or outside groups coming in.
Yeah.
So that right now is generally in order of what we think is important for the facility, but we can certainly discuss other items if we want to move those.
Okay, yeah.
We may come back and do them all. So
Let's do it.
So who knows? You never know.
And some of the big ticket items in the front part, we're hoping that'll save the maintenance so that we're not throwing good money after bad.
Right. Okay.
I have a couple of things.
Sure.
On the second and third slide, where we're talking about community relationships and membership. I noticed on some of the community partners that we have, they have some of their partners listed on their websites, but not HFFA. I was wondering if we can go to, for example, Hope House, for example, to see if they will add HFFA on their website as a partner. Because you never know who's watching that website or may want to contribute or become a member. Another is, you talked about the discounts for active duty and veterans. We just opened up that veteran service office. I think this could be a hot time now where you go meet with her and just push something as simple as the water aerobics for senior veterans.
Sure.
But again, if you could put some HFFA stuff just in her office. It could give us more exposure. And lastly, when we talk about the trees, have you thought about bartering with some of the larger Huntersville landscape companies such as Shepherd's Landscaping, Metrolina Landscaping, or Site One? We probably could barter with them and put some of their advertisement inside of the facility for some of the trees.
Right.
Or shrubbery.
Right. Yeah, we've had discussions with those vendors, and we're working with them through that. Yeah. So
Sweet.
absolutely, and to your point about the marketing and getting some collateral to those, yeah, we'll certainly work with you on that.
Excellent, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions?
No.
Perfect. I appreciate everybody, and certainly a shout out to Bobby, finance team, planning, everybody that has supported Public Works and Parks and Rec during our time. Appreciate all of your support, and thank you.
Thank you for all that information.
All right, any other
Anthony.
questions of the HFFA team before we maybe try to knock out one more item? I mean, that way maybe get you home earlier tomorrow so you can get some bread and milk or whatever you need. Or alcohol, whichever one. I think we're gonna try,
Excited.
maybe, Bobby, you wanna try attainable housing?
Let's try it.
Kind of while Bobby's getting prepped, I think he's gonna tell you what kind of dent you're making in attainable housing. Obviously, we're not, doing thousands, but, we're moving from zero and making progress with, partnerships, but he's gonna talk about that and what we're trying to do, et cetera, what all of us are trying to do, and maybe get some feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So I thought I'd start looking back at the goals. We had a number of items related to attainable housing. One of those was to implement recommendations from the mayor's task force. That conversation really sparked that we just simply need to be asking for affordable units, something we have not been doing. So this slide is kind of a shout out to previous boards, the most recent board, and I think maybe even the first action that you guys took. You got some affordable units out of Station South. And just asking that question, over the last couple of years, it's over 60 affordable units been created or added to what's going to be coming to Huntersville's future development just by asking or putting it in as part of the rezoning process. So kind of wanted to give a nod and a shout out. That's a pretty good number in the last couple of years. I've got some more depressing information data at the end that shows just the math of how it all comes together, and it really makes the 63 units seem like a lot. So one of the other aspects coming out of the mayor's task force, we were sort of the third of the three Lake Norman towns to go through that process. We had never really done a proper housing needs assessment, and y'all forgive me, I apologize, I'm a little nasally, so and I talk a little fast, so if it doesn't all come out, just raise your hand, I'll slow down. Not the words, not the nasal coming out. There's my joke for the day. But wanted to pull out a couple of takeaways that the DFI, the Development Finance Initiative at the School of Government, they conducted the housing needs assessment for us. These are some of the takeaways, and you really see how much conditions in Huntersville and really all of Mecklenburg County and the country changed after COVID. You'll see just how the numbers over the last kind of the 5-year period between, call it pre-2020 and 2023-24 changed. Huntersville's median household income is about $120,000 compared to roughly $84,000 for Mecklenburg County. The town has a 72% home ownership rate. The stats they crunched, which this is something that I heard a lot from Mayor Washam when he would talk about Cornelius's perspective on affordable housing, that our workers they're not living here. All the traffic we complain about all the time is because no one that's working here can afford to live here. And the data showed that 89% of workers in Huntersville live outside the town, with 46% of those commuting workers earning less than $40,000 a year. And the stats they pulled were from late 24, showed that Huntersville had the highest median rents and the second highest median home sales price among neighboring communities, which is Cornelius, Davidson, and Mooresville, with prices continuing to rise. Over 2,000 low to moderate income renters have a housing need. Over 2,300 low to moderate income homeowners may be struggling to afford their homes. And based on the price of housing in Huntersville, you need to be making $165,000 or more basically to be able to afford to buy a home in Huntersville these days. Those were pretty telling stats they shared with us. And then you heard everybody talk about the increase in costs. Cost to build a home in Mecklenburg County was $242,000 in 2018, had risen to almost $387,000 in 2024. Even when we talk to Habitat, it's costing close to $300,000 for them to build a house these days. That cost has really grown a lot. And so the DFI staff, they did meet with community stakeholders while they were here with us. And that feedback was housing for extremely low-income households, i.e. restaurant retail workers, is needed, as well as housing for moderate-income households, a preference to see a blend of home ownership and multifamily options, but in a smaller fashion, and then interest in seeing properties in a concentrated area as opposed to kind of scattered all over town. So those were the kind of the key takeaways from that. The second part of the attainable housing, or the housing assessment they did for us, and one of the goals that you had for last year was to look at town-owned properties. So we asked the DFI, we said, hey, here's our list of town-owned properties, and you see those two on the left, those are publicly owned. We own this site in Rosedale. The site at Long Creek is owned by the school system, but the Historic Landmarks Commission has a hand in that too, because they're trying to preserve the ag building and the history in the front of that parcel. And then the other two, Norman Park and Arlington Circle, those are areas we've had our eye on. We've owned lots and worked with Habitat and Hope House in the past in Norman Park. And we've had our eyes on these because these subdivisions were approved by the county back in the 50s. They're platted, but the streets have never been built. And because the streets have never been built, you can't build a house if it doesn't front on a public street in Huntersville. So the land value before COVID was very cheap. You could buy lots for $10,000, $15,000, and the hope was, we were fortunate enough to get a federal grant for $2 million for the purposes of acquiring lots for affordable housing. The thought was we could try to go into some of these areas without the infrastructure and maybe buy up a whole street so that it makes sense to go in and put the road in, because we could facilitate the affordable housing. But with COVID, a lot of these lots got speculated. People from out of town bought them. They bought them sight unseen, and now they're trying to sell and unload them for 25, 75, all over the map. So I don't know how and where those go, but we asked the DFI to look at these as well, because ultimately, in our stock of properties, we didn't have a lot that really rose to the top for consideration. We have no opportunities in Huntersville that would qualify for a 9% low-income housing tax credit. These here would qualify for a 4% low-income housing tax credit, and they were trying to look for roughly, areas you could get 40 to 60 multifamily units or about 30 townhomes. And so just the math is, it's a little telling. This is something we've never done before. I'm not certain that this is a path we want to go, but seeing that we've got 2 new commissioners, this continues to be a topic of interest. Just kind of wanted to throw this out there. The DFI has given us a scope of services to consider if we wanted to continue working with them, looking at this path, looking at these sites. They would be willing to help development feasibility, even recruiting a developer to the table. But even then, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get affordable housing at the end of the day. You'll see the kind of the projected, and I think, planning might argue that they're probably not going to get all the units that are shown in the scenarios. Maybe a little bit overly simplified what could be on the land. But you see that financial gap and the gap per unit. We have access to Mecklenburg County home funds. That's not going to pay down all that gap. And so I got one other slide here that just kind of shows how that math comes together. Call it a $25 million price tag for 100 units. 30% would be a bank loan. The equity from the low-income housing tax credit would cover 33%. The developer might defer his fee to the end, his or her fee to the end. That's 2%. Still got a gap of 34%. That's still $9 to $10 million. I'm not sure how we get to that, and that's kind of why I started with the slide I did of kudos for getting 63 units over the last couple of years, because you didn't have to pay anything for that, and you're getting it from the private sector who's seeing the value in workforce housing. as part of their developments, and they're also providing 80 to 120% of median income housing in some cases, which we can only serve 80% and below. And that 80 to 120 is sort of the missing middle that gets talked about with your workforce. And anything much below 60%, I don't know that it makes sense up here because we just don't have services that folks might also need at those lower income levels. So I don't really have an answer. I kind of wanted just to give a snapshot. This is, working with DFI thus far is how we've used some of the $150,000 that the board had set aside. We've used some of those funds to do some, I'll call it opportunity cost, to do some environmental analysis and environmental review, which we have to do to be able to spend those grant dollars for potential sites in certain parts of town where we might be able to use those dollars. We continue to look for ways where it makes the most sense, the most bang for the buck for that $2 million. We continue to partner with Habitat. We continue to support CDBG applications for rehab and repair. I know Becca's meeting regularly with the Lake Norman CDC. We just got an email, I don't know if y'all got the email from them showing off some of the work they did with Habitat for some rehab and repair in town to try to preserve the existing housing that we do have. So I'd say we're doing a lot of little things. This is kind of a big thing, and I know some of you heard the presentation from DFI, Scott and Heather. If y'all want to hear that, they're more than happy to come and give a presentation of all the data that they collected and answer questions, talk through the sites. The one in Rosedale, which was sort of the site for them that rose to the top because you got access to all kinds of services, amenities, grocery store, greenway, transit. I don't know, that's one of those. We got a handful of sites all over town. Some of us are not always sure how and why the town ever came to own them, but there's a lot of rock that would need to be blasted over there before you could ever build anything, and that's seems pretty disruptive to an existing community. So don't have much else. I just kind of wanted to give you this snapshot to really say kudos for using your process to get affordable lots. I think we're getting as much out of this as we might get trying to jump through all the hoops, like you heard from Stephen. When you get somebody else's money or federal or state money, you're jumping through lots of hoops. It adds time, it adds money, and it's not always easy. We do hear from developers who are looking for opportunities in town, and we kind of encourage them like, hey, knows the answer if you don't ask. But some sites probably make more sense than others. And certainly we have signed off on letters of support for folks pursuing tax credits for things in Huntersville. I think that one site on Beatty's Ford Road and that senior option, I think it's on its third attempt at a tax credit deal. These things are just, it's not a straight line, unfortunately. Brian says it's getting ready to go, so third time's the charm.
Well, I think what's important here is that, this started, I think, actually the task force, maybe Melinda Bales was the mayor at that time.
Yep.
They set the task force up, the new board came in, Mayor Clark from the new board came in at that time and actually took that and started putting into action and doing some of these studies, and then starting to basically push back at development saying, hey, you need to give us these units. I think what I'd take from this is, it's a good way, we're making good progress. But when these new multifamily projects come forward, I would push for more units. This is the best way, this is what I'd say the easiest way to get them, but if we're gonna approve multifamily that's coming before us, I would push back and try to get more units. That's the way we can get, these numbers up higher. We still gotta figure out what to do with the $2 million that we have. We got time. As Bobby said, we're trying all different approaches and, looking at land, we've done these studies. We have, given may not be the right word, but we have, I'll use my words, given, some of the properties that we had obtained, to the Habitats, to Hope House, different organizations to, provide various needs out there. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to work with even CDBG funds and different things and rehab and houses, so we'll continue to do that, but we still have that $2 million. It's probably available to 2031. 2031 to try to figure that out. But,
and truth be told, we kind of squirreled it away in our pocket, hoping whatever we could do with that to try to get the abandoned Caldwell station. Could we dangle that out there to somebody to help pay down whatever to help them move it along?
And maybe there's a partnership there if someone comes forth and buys that, and we could maybe just
thinking outside the box, and maybe there's a building or unit that we could put money towards and say, hey, we want to force that to be. I don't know how all that works and how we structure through that, but that's been a thought, you know, to try to revive that, and that may be a good location for it. But like I say, great progress. So it's really more to say, hey, you're doing a great job. Let's continue to push these multifamily developers. They want to come and they're asking for rezoning. Perfect time. You don't have to rezone it. So if you want to rezone it, I would push that hard if that's the goal that you want to continue to try to achieve. That's where I'd be pushing hard. Because you do not have to rezone.
We have 63 units there. Is there a program, and we talk about attainable housing for our first responders and teachers? Do we have a program in place for our first responders? And should we push this to our new CMS rep for our district to let her know that, okay, here are some units that you can push within CMS for our district for our attainable housing?
I'm gonna look to Emily for the nuance on that. I think you can promote it to anybody, but you can't
It's probably not
set it aside.
Probably not set aside just for those.
I mean, just as far as getting the word, or as far as marketing the program.
Probably first come, first served, unless they have some criteria.
I do know that, Dream Key, they used to partner with CMS and first responders, for their home buying program.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then CMS is now, they're working with Dream Key to do their own attainable housing push. Like, they have all these programs to help people get qualified, and
Right.
they're doing their kind of own internal thing, so it's definitely happening.
Yeah.
Within this, I can't remember, in this study, did we get like an idea of like the magic goal number of attainable housing units we should be shooting for in the 50-year future, or is that
I need
is
to
that
double check if
possibly-
that's in there. I don't know, I feel like that number is gonna be forever unattainable.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a magical number that you would never reach, but,
Yeah.
but I was, like, looking at this, I was thinking about it, so, you know, we get 63 in the we'll say the 24-25 term, but then if we, on that other side where it has like the Rosedale site and it had, like, we pretend we could get 100 units there, like, maybe we set, I'm putting this out there to the board, for the, 26, 27 term, that we aim for like 100 units in that term to get approved or get people to agree to, and then, so then that like creates, like, we're fulfilling that Rosedale philosophy by pushing it out to people who want to build.
Yeah, I'll go back through the data. I'll find that number. I think they gave us a number, but I
think
don't wanna
they
give you
did.
something
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
unrealistic.
it's like a magical unicorn number, but,
Yeah.
As long as it's
It was
clear
a
it's a
goal.
unicorn number,
yeah,
I'll find it.
yeah.
Not that
But I mean, it's
Attainable,
impressive
though.
for 2 years, I will say.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, we have all these projects coming forward, and we sort of have, they kind of set up a goal for us right there, saying, hey, you have this property, you could, theoretically build 100 units, well, there's a goal for us. Why don't we say, all right, here's our goal for this term. Like, let's try to make 100 units come to fruition in this term, however that comes. It might be through developers, it might be through, working with CDC, it might be through other ways. But it doesn't have to be 100, it also could be 90, it could be 80, it could be whatever.
Well, we got a project, it's coming before you now, and of course, I see one up there that says, a couple up there that says, 10 units, and I don't know what the new project's proposing, but, may need to be pushing,
20.
20.
Yeah.
20.
they need to be pushing some good, numbers for it, yep. So,
So something to think about.
that's all this was, really more for information and let you know you're doing a good job, but, we gotta keep pushing. I think that's all.
Yeah,
have.
we remain open to ideas, questions. Brian and his staff and Becca, she's really starting to dig into this more for us, so just let us know.
Bobby, did we ever get any, feedback from, I know there was a meeting with True Homes and they had that, partnership with the church in Huntersville where they were doing attainable housing on that property. Did we ever hear anything back from them?
Yeah, we had a conceptual meeting on,
I think we have a meeting with them next week after.
Okay.
Is it on Stumptown? Is that property?
Gilead.
Yeah,
Gilead,
yeah,
okay.
near the mayor. I know they're conceptually looking at it. I don't know if anything more formal than that has come through. I don't think we've gotten an official submittal yet.
Not yet.
Is that
But
at Meadow Lake?
It's at Meadow Lake.
Oh, okay, because they have that huge
We
piece
gave
of
them all,
property.
we had a sit-down meeting, had a lot of interaction, gave them a lot of feedback to their plan. We will see what they come back to us with.
Yeah, I mean, they have a huge lot that's just sitting there. It's been like that for years, so.
And Bobby, can you send this out to the board?
yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure that you guys have the full study that they did too. I'll send that again as well. Yeah, and that was one of the sessions in the mayor's task force was we had a couple of faith-based representatives come, because fewer people are going to church, fewer people putting in the plate. Churches are looking to do what they can to diversify their revenues, and they've got land. So a number of churches, you mentioned Stumptown, I know they looked at it, that church once upon a time did, but churches are looking at that, and I know there are examples in Charlotte where they're using some of their properties to turn into housing for supporting the
Yeah, the
workforce.
one at, oh gosh, up, can't even think of McCord Road is looking, come talk to us too at one time.
Okay.
About there.
So I think that's a great opportunity.
That's it. I don't think we have time to tackle any other ones, but, plus we gotta eat dinner, what, at 6?
Yep.
We're supposed to be there at 6, you say?
Wait, no, more like 5:30. So you can mingle for forced family fun. I love to do that. In the, what's it called? Maritime room, marine room. Atlantis room. I'll get there.
That's the pool room, I
That's
guess?
the pool room with the mermaid on the wall.
Yep. So down in the
Maritime
manor
room.
house for Scott has in the manor house, y'all see?
Yep. So we're gonna adjourn the first day. We'll turn off the feed and the
Emily,
mics
anything
will
we need to
be